What's that? 4 minutes. Sounds about right. Time for a quick nap, small bucket. So, what is the next sporting event that will make you stop? The Masters, March Madness, the draft?
Or we could do a carryover from Valentine's Day and use the word love. What is the sporting event you love the most?
The Super Bowl, or the Super Bowl?
That wouldn't be my answer. Before next football season, what's your favorite sporting event?
There you go.
March Madness, the Masters,
NBA Finals,
NBA. Yeah, there you go.
NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs.
Unless you want to put them together, NBA/NHL playoffs. No. Okay. There you go. Look at you and your book.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Wednesday where we get over the hump together, but not until asking the question, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Hell of a show we have lined up for you today. We transition little college hoops today. Couple of head coaches today. FAU head coach Dusty May, who could very well be a finalist for National Coach of the Year. Owls are 24-2. They've been nationally ranked this year, for goodness sakes. Pat Chambers, FGCU head coach, will join us in the bonus hour along with Shelby Mast. We'll start doing bracketology at least once a week. Who's in, who's out. It's a Wednesday. Seth Everett will join us, and we'll head to Philadelphia. A lot of losing going on in Philadelphia in the last 48 to 72 hours. Games and coordinators. Longtime Philly sportscaster Mike Missanelli, the Miss, will join us. But first, top of the morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, David. It was one of those, I think with having Pat on it, I know it was a couple days past the Super Bowl, but having Pat on yesterday kind of wraps a bow on the Super Bowl, and it's time to start moving forward. And it's discovery time for most of the sports audience out there. And by discovery time, I mean discovering what other sports exist.
Are you saying for a large section of America, it's college basketball, the NBA, the NHL? I'll be damned.
Hell, throw in a little golf because someone talked yesterday.
Well, yes, it was nice for the golf season to wait until after the Super Bowl in order for them to put their first tee into the ground. Tiger says, how about if I play the event right after the Super Bowl? Works for us. In fact, we're in Phoenix for the Super Bowl, the national media. We can head to L.A. It's not far from here. Hell, we could drive it. I-10. We could go. We'll be there for your presser. We'll cover you.
So I thought it was a bit of a discovery day for the sports audience and for the media who's been just lathering in football for a while. They had to go out and find themselves a little Tiger Woods yesterday. So I thought it was nice of Tiger to announce that he was playing a couple of days after the football season ended. Thought that it helped expedite things and move things along in a nice fashion for everyone out there.
Tiger was asked, I thought, a really good question yesterday. Forget who asked it, but the reporter said to him, Arnie and Gary played in, 50-something Masters or whatever it was, and Tiger interrupted him with a big smile on his face and said, no. And he said, no, that's not what I was going to ask. But that clearly, along the way, they couldn't win it anymore. But they were okay just playing. They were okay kind of representing their era and representing the sport, if you will. And he said, and then by the very end, they were, largely a ceremonial, player. Because Tiger had done his whole, if I'm here to win. And so the guy said to him, he goes, do you see yourself, accepting that role at some point in your life? And he said, I'm not there yet. And I don't know if I ever will be. I really don't. I don't know if I'll ever just show up to play because I like being around the guys and, and he goes, and I do like being around the guys, but he goes, I'm not there yet. And then he added, he goes, and quite frankly, physically, I don't know how long I'll be able to play. So he goes, I may not, at 55, 60 years of age, I may not have the ability to, hey, I just want to, tee it up today. But it was one of the few times, Mark, in which I thought you got a real answer. Like he didn't just regurgitate something that you've heard him say 300 times before, like he had done just before that when he talked about, well, I'm here to win. I don't tee it up unless I, think I can win. But okay, we get it, right? I mean, of course, you haven't played a competitive tournament in 7 months, but yes, of course, you're here to win, right? You've got the top 3 golfers in the world all on top of their game, and you're going to show up, a guy who was not competitive a year ago, and you haven't played a competitive round in 7 months. So you're going to show up today, and you're going to whip them all on a course, by the way, which historically you haven't done well, right? Yeah, okay, you're here to win. Got it. So I thought it was real. And you and I are always looking for that.
And look, you know he's going to regurgitate the answer about winning because that's the way he's wired, and that's what I don't even know if he believes himself anymore, but he believes the answer, if you know what I mean. He believes that that's the only answer you can give. I don't know if he necessarily believes what's coming out of his mouth, but he believes that's the only answer you can give. And I will say, I think you're going to see as much of him this year as you can possibly see of him. That whole live golf thing is real. They're on television. These elevated events, I think Tiger will try to play in as many as he physically can play in this year.
By the way, that Netflix series drops today. Their year behind the scenes in the world of golf, I forget the name of it, but it drops today on Netflix. Got to admit, it's really good timing for golf. Got a good event with a really good field. Tiger, and it's post-football. And people are looking for something to, sink their teeth into.
Full Swing, I believe, is the name of the Netflix golf documentary.
That's, of all the golf terms and phrases you could have made into a title of a series, that's not bad. That's not bad. I give it about a 7.5.
Yeah, the title can have whatever as long as the information inside is a little better than a 7.5.
No doubt about it.
Because the bar's been set pretty high from the F1 series that they have done, and that was the precursor to this, where they had great access.
Well, listen, if this isn't a great series, then either they didn't get the access that they needed or they did a terrible job. I mean, come on. It's been the most eventful year in golf, arguably ever. But certainly since Jack and Arnie kind of broke away and changed how the world of golf conducted business, it essentially made the modern PGA Tour, and that was in 1969. But, I'm just saying full swing. Like, it's better than lag putt, if you know what I mean. I'm just saying, tee box. I mean, there's a lot of things they could have grabbed onto. I'm saying it's better than a lot of choices.
I agree.
Lag putting. I mean, it's not going to grab you. Up and down. No.
Golf clap would have been okay in my book.
Maybe it's a little too inside.
Right.
But okay.
But that's out today. So for those of you that are into the golf thing, this should be right up your alley.
Yeah. You got Tiger out at Riviera. It was almost 2 years to the day in which he crashed his car and nearly ended his life and career. And he's played a few times since. Not well. 2 months ago, he couldn't play in an event because he couldn't walk because he had plantar fasciitis. And now he says that that's healed up. He now actually says his ankle is more of a problem than his leg. That the leg responds after playing better than his ankle. And he goes, and I don't know if that'll change. He goes, like the leg has gotten better. My foot was giving me problems and now it got better. He goes, the ankle, that's right now, that's a different story. Okay. I mean, let's face it. Tiger talking about his health and Aaron Rodgers talking about his handicap have oftentimes been, about the same.
Ooh.
I mean, Tiger's, come on. You've said Tiger's a bit of a sandbagger.
A horrible sandbagger. I mean, he's not Aaron Rodgers-esque sandbagger, but I see where you're going with this.
Right.
He's a sandbagger when it comes to his health and how he is. And
right.
He's always made it seem that things are worse than they are, which is why when he says I play to win, you have to think, not that you're believing he's going to win, but you and I both believe physically he's as good as he can be right now, or he wouldn't play.
And that's what he said. He said, listen, on the range, he goes, I'm terrific on the range. He goes, honestly, I'm hitting all the shots. Okay. So he joked, though. He said, even though he said, in a way, it kind of started for me here, because wasn't Riviera where at 15, he hit his first ever shot in a PGA tournament. So it holds a special, and it's in Southern California. And so it holds a special place for him. And I think he's the tournament host, isn't he? Or is that next week?
I did not think it was Riviera, but
Okay.
you're.
So, he says, I'm ready. Give it a shot. I mean, you and I thought we might just see him in the majors for the rest of his, life, career.
And I think it would have been that way had it not been for Live Golf. I do think that Live Golf is getting Tiger back playing more events this year. I think they want to have superiority, and you can't do that without one Tiger Woods. He's still the only guy that makes the needle move.
Think he makes the cut?
Man, I hope so. But the odds are against it. He doesn't play well here.
No, he doesn't. And he hasn't played a competitive round in 7 months. So I don't know if that's our poll question, but I know you want a poll question.
You're damn right we're having a poll question. That might be 2. This show's looking up. We've got a great guest list. We got the starting 5 coming in 25 minutes, and it sounds like we've got decisions to make as to which poll question we're going to use. Miller and Moulton with poll questions. Holy cow. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki, the best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and Tiki Bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
J.S. Minnick, I can only imagine what Vegas is going to be like for that Grand Prix. Isn't it late November? So it's like right around Thanksgiving. Nuts. Plus, it'll be about 10 weeks before the Super Bowl.
How will Tiger Woods do this week at the Genesis? How will Tiger Woods do at the Genesis Invitational this week? Top 10, top 25, make cut, miss cut?
Sure.
Look at that. We had a poll question up.
Yeah, Johnny, I'm going to vote miscut.
I voted make cut.
Look at you. Glass half full guy.
It's Tiger.
Minute or so.
All right.
Morning, Raj.
Morning, David.
Just so you know, Raj, you're allowed to fall asleep. Okay. I mean, we would prefer.
Thank you, but I'll try not to.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, since the guy who normally sits in that chair routinely falls asleep.
Oh, routinely. Wow.
Routinely. I have a whole roll of pictures of him falling asleep.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. A lot of guests today, including 2 in our bonus hour. We got a poll question already up? What the heck? What's gotten into you? I mean, is this now going to be a thing again?
Yes. Yes, it is, David.
Wow.
You wanted it. It went away.
Right.
Brought
Then
it back.
Yeah, but I was okay once it went away. Once you adjust, you know how you kvetch, you moan, and then you make the change in your life. And then once you make the change, you get a couple weeks into it, you're like, yeah, okay, I don't know what I was kvetching about.
Well, I think post-football poll questions are far more important than they are during football.
Okay.
That's all. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And Tiger Woods is playing, so that's enough for a poll question all by itself.
Let me guess. Will he make the cut? Will he miss the cut?
Top 10, top 25, of course.
All right. That's how Miller and Moulton roll. Take the obvious, throw it out there. That Mark Miller, I'll retweet it soon enough at the David Moulton. Posted at floridasportsnetwork.com. All right. Good to know. Hey, I know the Super Bowl's in our rear view mirror. All right. But can I, when that hotel that you just left and you're driving away from is still barely in the distance, you haven't made the turn yet?
Right. Making sure the phone charger's in the bag. I might have to turn around.
Right. So just, we talked a lot about prop bets. For what it's worth, Kelsey went under on every official Vegas prop. So even though he had 6 catches,
right around
70
80 yards, right?
Yeah, and a touchdown. But he went under on every prop. Pacheco went over on every rushing prop. Mahomes was over on touchdowns and rushing yards. Miles Sanders was under on every single stat prop. All right. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Kenneth Gainwell went over on every stat prop except for interceptions. Because obviously Hurts, didn't throw one. So, and far more Eagles, because they had over 100 more yards than Chiefs, far more Eagles players went over on their props than did the Chiefs. So, just took, all right, now you can make the turn. The hotel's gone. Vacation's over. Back to the real world. Although I do want to throw this out there. The odds are already out as to who's going to win the Super Bowl next year.
Kansas City.
5-1. The Eagles are 7-1. Bills, Niners 8-1. Bengals 9-1. So that's kind of your top five. They're clear demarcation ahead of everybody else. The Cowboys are the only team right now between 10-1 and 20-1. They're at 16-1. And then, think about this. Didn't the Minnesota Vikings win 13 games last year?
They did.
Aren't they in the NFC, which is clearly weaker than the AFC? They're 50-1. Now I know nobody. Well, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, I know. But did anybody think the Eagles were going to be favored heading into this year's Super Bowl a year ago at this time? They were a 9-8 team that got drilled in the first round by Tampa. Did you envision that Philly was going to clearly be the best team in the NFC and be favored in the Super Bowl? By the way, could you make the case that the Lions could be next year's Eagles?
Well, I was going to ask you, since you gave us the Vikings, what does the rest of that division look like in odds if you have it? I know the Bears will be at the bottom, but what are the Lions and the Packers? Because as of right now, Aaron Rodgers is still a Green Bay Packer.
They're both 33-1. Remember, the Eagles were 2-5 a year ago, finished 9-8, winning 7 of their last 10. The Lions were 1-6, won 8 of their last 10 to finish 9-8. The only difference, the Eagles snuck into the playoffs with their 9-8. The Lions were kept out of the playoffs with their 9-8. You look at the Lions, they've got draft picks. Don't they have two of the top?
Yes, they do.
18? They're drafting 6th and 8th. They've got cap room. They've got one of the 3 best offensive lines in the league. What did the Eagles bring with them last year? 2 first-round picks. Actually, they had 3, and they traded one of them. Cap room. And one of the 3 best offensive lines in the league. And a year ago at this time, what did you think of Jalen Hurts? I know they're called the Detroit Lions, but if you put another name on them, don't they look a lot like the Philadelphia Eagles from a year ago? 33-1. How about this? The Raiders and the Jets, 25-1. Dolphins, 28-1.
Can I just ask where the Rams are?
33-1. Thinking about a shekel that, they bring everybody back?
That's a team that no one's going to talk about because we forget about teams so quickly, but it wasn't that long ago that they won this final game of the year.
Right. I believe it was a year ago, right around this time. Mm-hmm. So I find it interesting that the Jets odds are better than the Dolphins. Is that Vegas hedging that they're going to get Aaron Rodgers? Also, the Raiders at 25-1. I'm sorry. Who do you think is going to be their quarterback? Because right now it's Jared Stidham. Hello.
Unless that's another Rodgers hedge, which it could be.
Texans with the worst odds at 150-1. Arizona at 100-1. From the bottom up, Colts, Commanders, Bears. Bears are 75-1. How about this? Tennessee and Seattle are both 66-1. Huh.
Well, that does throw a little bit of a wrench in your Aaron Rodgers possibility at Tennessee. There's no hedging there for the Titans, David.
Tampa's 50-1, by the way. That's right. The Florida team with the lowest odds to win the Super Bowl are your Jacksonville Jaguars at 25-1.
Damn right it is.
Now, there's a cluster: Broncos, Jags, Raiders, Ravens, all at 25-1. But if you think about it, do some quick math here. The Jacksonville Jaguars have the 8th best odds to win the Super Bowl. Hey, I don't want to say the NFL's been thrown on its head or anything, but the Bengals are now a serious, credible threat to win the Super Bowl year in, year out. The Lions won 8 of their last 10 to finish the season, and the Jags are a top 10 play to win the Super Bowl.
And the play in the state of Florida.
Don't you have to throw a shekel on the Dolphins at 28-1?
I don't.
No?
No, I mean, you
Just a shekel.
You can throw your shekel on the Dolphins. I'll throw my shekel on the Rams.
Oh, no. You should throw your shekels on an NFC team. It's more wide open, but just throwing that out there.
I don't know. There's still a Mahomes in the AFC. It's hard for me to bet on teams that don't have a Mahomes or a Burrow or an Allen.
Tampa Bay with the second best odds in the South. The Saints, for whatever reason, are 33-1.
Miller and Moulton. Little Super Bowl odds for you as we get ready for the starting five. It's coming next right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
About a minute.
And this is where we do the starting five. So you just got that.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll head to Philadelphia in an hour. The Eagles picking up the pieces from losing the Super Bowl and yesterday losing both of their coordinators, Mike Missanelli, to join us. A couple of coaches on the show today, including FAU's Dusty May. Owls have been nationally ranked in the last few weeks. 24-2 is FAU on the season. We'll talk to Dusty, who's got to be on the short list for National Coach of the Year right now. We'll talk to him at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. What's our poll question again?
It's Tiger Woods Ask. What else would it be, David? How will Tiger Woods do at the Genesis Invitational this week? 0 of you say a top 10. A few of you say top 25. A little over half of you say make the cut. And then there are those of you that believe Tiger will miss the cut. A third of you voting in that direction right now. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network on Twitter or floridasportsnetwork.com to vote on today's poll question.
You voted make the cut, right?
I did.
I voted miss the cut. Obviously not rooting for him to miss the cut. Hell, would love for him to be on like the second page of the leaderboard heading into the weekend. That'd be cool, for lack of a better word. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
As was previously mentioned, Eagles losing both their coordinators yesterday. In the morning, the Colts made it official. Offensive coordinator Shane Steichen is their guy. By mid to late afternoon, Arizona made it official. Defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon is their guy. Okay. Can we get someone to do the definitive reporting then about Eric Bieniemy? No,
I'm glad you said that, because as you were reading off the two coordinators getting hired as head coaches, all I was thinking was, what does this guy have to do to become a head coach?
You know, whatever you're going to say Bieniemy's not calling the plays. Listen, a lot of people think Steichen wasn't calling the plays. I mean, do we need to go through resumes? Both these guys just lost the Super Bowl. Bieniemy's been a part of 3 with 2 wins, 5 straight conference championship games. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, there's a lot of people that cover the National Football League. I mean, if there's something besides the color of his skin, somebody needs to find it. Some unnamed source, some team that's interviewed Bieniemy, somebody needs to get on the record and say, guy's not impressed. Something. Because this is a hell of a mystery. Unless it's just obvious what's going on. And we really don't want to acknowledge it because that sucks. I mean, if you're Eric Bieniemy, how do you swallow that? He got 1 interview, by the way, this year. 1. There were only 5 jobs open, but still, he got one interview. All right. Raiders officially released quarterback Derek Carr. Ravens hired Georgia offensive coordinator Todd Monken to be their OC.
How big of a deal is this for Georgia in your estimation, David?
Well, I feel badly for Mike Bobo, who was immediately promoted to replace him, and he's been the offensive coordinator there before and was quarterback there and all that. But I mean, can you go up if you're Bobo? I mean, the best you can do is status quo, right?
Yep.
I mean, can you turn the job down when Kirby comes to you and goes, well, Mike, we'll double your salary. What do you say? Nah, man, I'm good. Wait for us to not win with the next guy. You can call me in about 3 years. I'll be ready. I'll say yes. I thought Monken this past year in retooling the offense and making it more pass-oriented, where the year before it was more run-oriented, and what he did with the 2 tight ends, I actually thought Markey was pretty creative. And I know they didn't have the hardest schedule, and oftentimes, yes, they had the better players, so he's not going to get the credit that I think he deserves. But when he wants to, he could really scheme it up. I thought he was a pro X's and O's guy working on Saturdays. Speaking of offensive coordinators, the Canes hired Houston's Shannon Dawson. So they got their DC from Tulane and their OC from Houston. So there you go. Jim Caldwell hired as a senior offensive assistant on Frank Reich's staff in Carolina. Listen, I know it's just putting a staff together, but on paper, Frank Reich's staff looks really good. Of course, right now they don't have a quarterback. But
Right. The problem is their roster on paper does not look very good.
no, a room for improvement for sure. No doubt. Vikings running back Dalvin Cook, shoulder surgery. It's bothered him off and on most of his career, actually. He's been nursing this injury for 2 seasons. They say he'll be ready for camp. And it's official. Aaron Rodgers is headed into the darkness. The darkness retreat is underway. NBA, Orlando had a 5-point lead at the half, but playing on back-to-back nights. It looked as if they ran out of gas in the second half in Toronto last night. Raptors beat them by 10, 123-113. Boston, down 3 starters, led Milwaukee most of the way. Then they had to rally late to force overtime. Milwaukee wins in overtime, but the Celtics cover. They were getting 9. Bucks by 6, 131-125 in overtime. Durant was watching on the bench. He's still out injured. Phoenix beat Sacramento 120-109. I think they're doing the presser. Did they do it yesterday? Or are they doing it today? Anyway, they're saying it's like the biggest individual presser maybe since Shaq became a Phoenix Sun. That's how much excitement there is. Clippers beat Golden State by 10. Draymond after the game said we're not committed defensively. We don't have the will defensively to be a champion. And Washington beat Portland by 25 in Portland. Ouch. Why is Dame sticking around again? College hoops. We said the best game of the night on paper. 2 ranked teams in the Big East, Providence and Creighton.
Boy, did they deliver.
Double overtime before the Friars at home held off the Blue Jays by 8. Syracuse upset NC State. That's because Syracuse was home, 75-72. Oklahoma was home. They upset K-State, 79-65. Kansas, however, not a place to play either. At Oklahoma State, and they beat the Cowboys 87-76. Once again, The Big 12 picked the Jayhawks. Wisconsin beat Michigan by 5.
Michigan needs wins right now. They are out.
So's Wisconsin, but that helped. Last I saw, Wisconsin was out. And Coach K, is he now just Mr. K since he's not coaching anymore, by the way? Or are you always coach?
You're always coach.
Okay. Well, Coach K showed up at Cameron for the first time since he was no longer the coach. He did so because Duke was hosting Notre Dame. Mike Bray's last trip there. Bray was a longtime assistant under Coach K. They're really tight. So he did it to honor Mike Bray as much as he did it to see Duke. Duke hit a late 3, beat Notre Dame 68-64. Coach K did go to a college basketball game over the weekend. Okay, he was at a game at Madison Square Garden. So I think there was pressure on him like, hey, you're going to see college hoops? You're not watching us?
Have you seen how Duke's been playing? I'll show up against Notre Dame when I know they're going to win because Notre Dame's not any good. And they still needed a late bucket to pull away in that one.
Women's college basketball, the coaches poll came out yesterday. South Florida still ranked, they're 23rd. FGCU jumped into the poll at 25th. Florida State with a couple of losses last week, even though they were ranked teams, they fell out of the top 25. Hockey, down 2-0 in the second. Lightning rally, force overtime, and then a shootout. Stammer, the game winner. Tampa Bay 4-3 over the Avs. Talk about a team needing wins, by the way, needing points. I mean, can our Avs at least make the playoffs?
I think they'll get there, but they're banged up and they're struggling. Another loss last night. They get a point, but when you have a 2-0 lead, these are games you got to hold on to. Good for the Lightning, though, who get a nice win on the road.
Panthers had a tough night. They got whacked in St. Louis by a Blues team that's not any good anymore, 6-2. And then the team they're chasing for the final playoff spot, Pittsburgh, beat San Jose 3-1. Crosby with a helper on all 3 goals. So the Panthers now 3 points behind the Penguins for the final playoff spot. And, oh, yeah, the Penguins have, 4 games in hand? Ouch. Carolina, New Jersey, and Boston. All 3 teams won by the score of 3-2. Tiger Woods is playing golf this week. No, really. He's in L.A. at Riviera for the Genesis Invitational. It was in this general vicinity where he crashed his car 2 years ago and had the car accident that severely injured his right leg. He said his leg is a lot better than last year. The big problem is actually his right ankle. Remember, he couldn't play a couple months ago because he had plantar fasciitis in his feet. He said that has largely healed, that the rest did him good. Another story that's not being covered much this week, the ladies' European tour is in Saudi Arabia. 13 major champions are in the field, including Lydia Ko, Lexi Thompson, Danielle Kang. Same purse as the men's tournament. They just had there 2 weeks ago. $5 million, $750,000 to the winner. 5 times larger than the purse that this tournament had a year ago. And because of it, a few women who were very anti the whole LIV thing are playing in the tournament.
Interesting.
Wow. You mean bigger purses? And we don't mean handbags? Interest you? Finally, pitchers and catchers reported at many a place in Florida and Arizona yesterday, Mark. Although it was noted in Fort Myers that there were only 5 members of the media at opening day for the pitchers and catchers for the Red Sox. 5 New England members of the media, 1 TV station, and 4 newspaper/internet reporters. And as the person who pointed that out said, 5 years ago, there would have been like 25. So is that downsizing in the media world, or is that kind of the blooms off the rose there for the Red Sox? Pardon for the pun, because their general manager's last name is Bloom. So that's all. By the way, Major League Baseball said they're going to emphasize the balk rule this year. I think, to encourage more base stealing.
Bases are closer together. The bigger bases, it's easier to steal bases. Should the limited number of pickoff attempts they have, there should be more stolen bases in baseball this year. A lot more.
Red Sox manager said the base paths look like pizza boxes out there. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Eagles' first team to be in the Super Bowl to lose both coordinators after the game since the Niners in 94. The 94 season, early 95, they lost Mike Shanahan and Ray Rhodes. Shanahan got the Broncos job. Rhodes got the Eagles job. I believe it was the Eagles. So Eagles having to do something that hasn't been done in 30 years. Niners came back next year, made the playoffs, got knocked out in the second round. So just for a little historical perspective.
And the Eagles need to get to work on rehiring coordinator jobs, see if anybody gets promoted, how this all works out for Philadelphia. We'll check in Philadelphia in about 30 or so minutes.
So there you have it. Get you up to date on what's going on. Tiger Woods poll question? I mean, we are just cooking with heat this morning, Mark.
Miller and Moulton doing a little cooking. That's strange for half the show.
Very.
Thanks for listening, Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
This year, I'm going to show everyone the best can I do. Oh, man, can't wait to get off this fucking tour. Breaking news. Looking at possible defections from the PJ Tour. And I'm writing this book. It says they're scared. I was like, whoa, Bill. You can't say that. Your sponsors. This has been without doubt the craziest year. Santa Claus. It's Pete. Merry Christmas. And they didn't even wish me a happy birthday. Get a Christmas card on get a Valentine's Day card.
Next break. You don't have time. It's 2.5 minutes.
About 30.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day as we get over it together here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Mike Missanelli, who's covered the Philadelphia sports scene for a long time, will join us in a little more than 30 minutes' time. The Eagles losing a Super Bowl, losing both coordinators. Where do they go from here? Realistically, what should the expectations be for them next year? They are the second betting favorite to win the Super Bowl as of right now. We'll talk to Miss about that in about 35 minutes' time. Seth Everett to join us next hour. 1 hour from now, Dusty May. Excited to get him on. We've been trying for weeks. FAU men's basketball coach. They're 24-2. They had a 20-game winning streak this year. All right. I mean,
they should be in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if say they lose in their conference final, don't you think they're going to take an at-large away from somebody?
They damn well should, based on what's going on with the Big Ten, the ACC, and the SEC to a certain degree, because the Big 12's terrific. It's a great college basketball conference.
Yeah, this the last two teams in it have been beating the big boys for the last 3 weeks.
But the rest of the major conferences are lacking depth. And while you look at the Big Ten, and David, you may have been right last week, because I think you were. Right now, according to Shelby, Mast will be on the show later, Wisconsin's one of the last 4 in. North Carolina's the last 4 in.
And he updates it this time of the year. He updates it every day. So I'm wondering if Wisconsin's win over Michigan got them in and whether they were out the day before. I'm surprised he has North Carolina in. They do not have a quad 1 win yet this year.
But to your point, the first 4 out are Kentucky, Oregon, who just had a nice win over USC last week. That was big for them. A&M and New Mexico. You know, the next 4 out, Arizona State, Va-Tech, Seton Hall, Utah State. So of the next 8 out, only 2 are mid-major schools in Utah State and New Mexico. Everybody else of Power 5 conferences.
But Wisconsin, who's been a force in college hoops for the last 10 years, Kentucky, North Carolina, all bubblicious right now. Villanova is not even 500. Think of the force they've been first year without Jay Wright. So Dusty May to join us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Looking forward to talking to him. Seth Everett will join us next hour as well. Tiger Woods is playing golf this week, and not just around, Lake Nona there or wherever it is he lives in the greater Orlando area. No, he's out playing with the guys this week.
At the Genesis, it's the crux of our poll question today. How do you think Tiger will finish? Top 10, top 25, make the cut and miss the cut?
I, of course, hope for the best, but I'm not expecting much. And don't laugh, but it's cooler out there. And he even mentioned it. He goes, it's a little cooler than I thought it'd be. We talked about this. Tiger, ever since the injury started adding up, and particularly, the major back problems and now the leg problems. I mean, he has said, warmer works for me a lot better than cooler. So I hope it warms up for him. Remember Nota Begay's line, and there aren't many, guys on tour or covering the tour who know Tiger better and are closer to him than Nota Begay, his former college teammate. And he said this 12, 13 years ago about Tiger, when Tiger was in his approaching his mid-30s. And he said, yeah, that body's closer to 50. Well, think about what's happened to Tiger since then. The major back surgeries and the car accident. So those of a certain age who have retired to Florida know on those cool mornings, your body goes, oh, damn.
Creaks a little more. The cracks happen when you walk upstairs. I have no idea what Tiger's referring to, and he's an actual athlete. Yes, right. It gets tougher in the cool weather.
So I hope it warms as much as possible for El Tigre there, and I would love to see him play the weekend. Not as much as CBS would love to see him play the weekend. I will say, though, golf outside of the Super Bowl, it was the highest rated thing of the weekend last week. The final round there, Scheffler, and you had Spieth, and you had Rahm. You even had a Ricky Fowler sighting on Sunday. Nearly 4 million people watched the final round of Phoenix. That's a big number because you had tens of millions of people. 20 million were watching the pregame show. The 4-hour pregame show averaged 18 million people. And that's what the golf was going up against. You did nearly 4 million viewers for Phoenix. Now, they might have benefited, Mark, from more of us around our TVs than normal, to say the least, because we're getting ready for the Super Bowl. But still, all right, the golf rated.
And that tournament has become a very popular tournament. It's well marketed outside of the Phoenix area. I mean, they do go after this in a big way of letting us know that the Phoenix tournament's here. With Tiger, if he plays the weekend, this should get a pretty decent number from a golf standpoint.
Yeah, I would think. It'd be interesting to me if Tiger is playing on the weekend and he's not playing, where he's tied for 50th after Friday, and the only way you're going to see him is if you watch the Golf Channel at noon. But if he's actually top 25 and CBS can show damn near every shot he's hitting, I'd be curious to, see what kind of a number that produces. Does it outrate Phoenix?
It would take Tiger being top 25 for that to happen.
Right.
It would take what you're talking about, basically being able to show nearly every shot of his on the weekend.
Right. Where, let's see, their golf coverage goes until 6:30 and Tiger doesn't tap in until, sometime in the 5 o'clock hour. If he's tapping in at 5:15, where you turn it on at 3 o'clock and you're watching Tiger play the back nine, the whole back nine. But we'll see.
Love to see him contend in a non-major just to see what the television number would be. I don't think it'll be this week, but you know what I mean. Just one of these tournaments along the way where all of a sudden Tiger catches a little lightning in the bottle and he's somewhere in the top 10 just to see what would happen to the sports world.
Well, and let's face it, in the last 3 years, the only time he contended was when he won the Masters. And it was fascinating. We wondered during, whatever phase this is of Tiger's career, that we wondered if he could sniff a major again. What would the leaderboard do? Because remember, when Jack started making his run in 86, Seve Ballesteros collapsed. Seve Ballesteros collapsed under the weight of the back nine of the Masters and Jack being Jack. And Watson missed putts that he still was making at that point in his career. And, Tom Kite couldn't finish, although he had that history in majors, and the only guy, and it took until the final hour, but the only guy that really kept it together was Greg when he rattled off the 4 birdies in a row there. And when Tiger hung around in the 2019 Masters, everybody else fell apart. And Tiger said, well, okay, if you guys insist, I'll take it from here.
I can figure this out.
These last 6 holes, I know pretty well. I can birdie 3 of them.
So that's, and it doesn't have to be at Augusta to me. Like that would be almost unbelievable.
Right.
If that happens.
But that's the only time that he's been with the guys in the last 3 years. And when he put himself there, the guys fell apart. And so you're right. Imagine if, Tiger were to put himself on the final page of a leaderboard on Sunday, even if it was at the Valspar. Okay. And I think we'd all be curious to see what would the guys do. Because John Rahm talks about being around Tiger like he's a Brit, okay, walking around with Queen Elizabeth. Seriously, John Rahm's like, it's an honor that we even get to play the same course at the same time as him.
Max Homa is the same way.
Yeah.
They have hero worship for this guy, and then all of a sudden they have to play with him. That's a different whole animal.
Right. And also, let's face it. At this point, he's a ceremonial golfer until he proves otherwise. He may say all the things that he's going to say. I'm here to win. I'm hitting the ball great on the range. It's just a matter of physically, blah, 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 blah. Besides the most diehard of diehard fans, no one in the golf world thinks that Tiger Woods is going to contend for anything ever again. So if it were to happen, Shazam!
And a little more golf talk today with Full Swing, the Netflix documentary dropping today. I'm guessing many of you will be jumping in as they document a year unlike any other on the PGA Tour with the Live Golf faction splitting. Should be a fascinating watch.
Yes. A sport which doesn't give us a lot of behind-the-scenes access. They don't even allow caddies in the clubhouse. They're going to allow cameras.
That is a hell of a point.
So I'm in. They got me. They could have put a bad title. Like we said, they could have called it Lag Putt. I'd still be watching.
$21,000 is the text line. The poll question up. It's about Tiger. Your thoughts on Full Swing, if you've already jumped in, if that's your day's plans, if you're in to hear about that. We'll talk some Philadelphia sports coming up later on this hour as the Eagles have lost both of their coordinators, and they stand to lose, about 10 free agents right now that are starters.
Over half their defense. Need to find some money, and fast. So, and for those of you wondering, when are we going to get to the Daytona 500? Beginning tomorrow, we will. We already got the guests lined up. Completely sold out Daytona 500, by the way. Over 400,000 expected. How about that? That's great to see. Fully sold out a week before the race. Try getting a hotel room between Jacksonville and Vero Beach. Good luck.
Unless you need a room at Moulton's. He's renting them out. Top dollar this week to stay for the 500. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I don't know. Are we all set with the satellite and everything? With Westwood One, we're all dialed into them? I don't know, Solid Oak Tree, because we're not on the Lake City station.
Yeah, we're definitely hooked up.
Do you have to call them or any? I mean, did you call? Is there a communication with them, or you just have to hook up?
It's just a hookup, and it's. I can see that it's hooked up.
I just text Bruce. It's his station. I just texted him and said, well, we just got a note saying we're not on in Lake City.
I think so, Solid Oak, but I'm not sure. I have to be really honest with you. I don't know what the numbers are in Lake City. Do you, David? The signal in Lake City that we're on?
106.1 FM.
Okay. Yeah. I don't, Adam. I have not started any derby prep, and that's bad on me.
About a minute.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Mike Missanelli will join us in less than 20 minutes' time. Dustin May, the FAU men's basketball coach, to join us at the top of the hour. Seth Everett in a little more than an hour. And for those that stick around and tune in or download the bonus hour, a lot of college hoops. Pat Chambers from FGCU, but also Shelby Mast. He's been our resident bracketologist for many a year, Bracket Wag, USA Today. About a month before the tournament, who's in, who's out, whose bubble is bursting, and who's in. Shelby Mast in a couple hours. And let's face it, that's where many of us are going. You know, post the Super Bowl. We got Daytona this weekend. You got the meat and potatoes now of the college basketball season. Down the stretch in conference play, you can almost see conference tournaments from here. I mean, Mark, we're like 2 weeks tops removed from the small conference tournaments beginning.
Hey, David, when they can stretch the Super Bowl out for another couple of weeks and they get to 18 games and, stretches to mid-February. We really don't need much of a break anymore.
So I was talking to someone yesterday who said that if you're the NFL, you should never want a holiday after the Super Bowl. Okay, his argument was that he thinks less people would watch the Super Bowl. That actually having to go to work the Monday after the Super Bowl will keep more people home and more people watching. That if you have a national holiday or we get to 18 games and it's pushed a week further back and we have President's Day the day after the Super Bowl, that basically the Super Bowl then gets played like the Sunday night of Labor Day weekend would be the equivalent. And he said, if you're the NFL, you avoid Labor Day weekend for just that reason. When you used to play Labor Day Sunday, your ratings were down. And I tried to say, yeah, that's week one. And, this is the Super Bowl. And he said, I'm telling you, I just think that we're all home. We have to be home because, the real world continues the next day.
No, and I think he's on to something. These 3-day weekends, whether it's MLK weekend, whether it's President's Day weekend, families use those to make a little trip.
Yeah.
Whether it's a little ski weekend, whatever the case may be, to get out of Dodge for a couple of days. So I don't think he's that off base with that.
Now
And I think the other thing that I said yesterday, David, is that going to work on Monday, and I know everybody dreads that, it's so awful. You've got to go to work on a Monday after the Super Bowl, and you spend most of the day talking about the Super Bowl. That's the other thing the Super Bowl has going for it. What do we do the Monday after the Super Bowl at work? We talk about the Super Bowl.
And don't work.
And I mean, I worked in minor pro hockey for nearly 20 years, David. The Monday after the Super Bowl, you talked about the Super Bowl. In this business, not the actual sports talk that we do, but you and I both did sales in the radio world. Everybody's talking about the game and the commercials, how their squares did.
I feel as if we've made this point a lot over the years, but we're seemingly having to keep making it. It's stunning to me how many people want the game moved. I mean, we've only said this 112 times, and the media world has only said it to you thousands of times. But Sunday night is far and away the number one viewing night for television. Saturday night is the worst viewing night for television. Just move the game to Saturday. Literally. Not only would you get fired, okay, you might get shipped out of the country as a television executive if you did it. Goodell would be fired for suggesting the idea before the idea fully came out of his mouth. The game is never in fact, if anything, the game keeps kicking off later. Remember when it kicked off Sunday? 6:30 kickoff was 6:45. This sucker will be 7:30 by the end of the decade.
And who wouldn't watch on Saturday? Women. I mean, 14 million people watch this game or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, 113 and change. Yeah.
The number would not be as high on a Saturday night. I don't know what part of this people don't understand. But every time we explain it, well, just play the game on Saturday. Who wouldn't watch on Saturday?
Saturday's the date night. Saturday's the middle of the weekend. Your kids may be doing something out of town. You're at something with your kids for the weekend, and you get back in time for what? To watch the Super Bowl. I mean, trust me, the television numbers are staggeringly different. One night is the best night. One night is the worst. It's only been proven for 50 years, by the way. This is not a recent phenomenon. Monday nights, Thursday nights, probably second and third as to when you would have your sporting event. Fridays and Saturdays, your worst nights. People do things. or are tired and go to bed. Just saying. And I know the whole who wouldn't watch on Saturday. Hey, 1 out of every 4 televisions in Philadelphia wasn't watching the game. I mean, we've said the story we would do if we were in Philly is I'd find all the people who didn't watch. So what were you doing last night? I was watching Turner Classic Movies. Really? What was on? Streetcar Named Desire, huh? Had you ever seen it before? Oh, yeah, like 6, 7 times. Oh, okay.
Hey, they're there.
Yeah.
We're yet to find them. They're not our P1s, David. It's not folks that we come in contact with every so often.
No doubt about that. But odds are out for next year's Super Bowl already. No surprise, the Chiefs are the favorite. Eagles are the favorite in the NFC. These will alter, though. Guys getting released, free agent signings and the like. Just so you know, right now, Jacksonville with the best odds in the state. Better than the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl.
Travis Kelce quoted as complaining about the Chiefs being the favorites and not being by a wide enough margin.
Being disrespected, Mark.
How can we have just won it and we're not
right?
Even money to win this year's Super Bowl? What the hell is this?
What are you thinking in Buffalo? Serious. They're in the toughest position in sports. We've said this. We have believed this, you and I, separately and together for the 25 years that we've known each other. This is the toughest position to be in sports. You're good. You may even be very good. You're not good enough. How do you, at the very least, stay where you are and not take a step backwards to try and go forward? And if you stay where you are, is that ultimately going to be good enough one year where it's just your year? I mean, look at the fine line the Chiefs walked this year. I mean, hell, they struggled to get by Jacksonville. I mean, seriously, all 3 of their playoff games were close late. They won their last 2 games on a field goal on basically the final play of the game both times.
And it's so difficult if you're Buffalo because your quarterback's your best runner. To change who you are means some substantial changes to how you play the game.
I mean, if you're Buffalo, are you thinking we just need to tinker? Or are you thinking we need to do something radically different here, which means we could take a big step back? Eagles, where do they go from here? Mike Missanelli to talk about it next.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, Only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What he can do for even the rest of the lineup, the guys around him. I think, like Eric Leander has alluded to, they do have some ascending players when it comes to the offensive side, but it's the pitching staff that has me as optimistic and excited for the season as I am. And that is every year, it seems like, with the Rays. The plan for this offseason, the big need for this offseason was to probably bring in a bat, and particularly, specifically a left-handed bat. They didn't do it. Talking about the 21st in the majors in runs scored last year.
With delivery, big things can happen in as little as an hour.
Or drives too slow for the traffic flow. A driver who isn't paying attention because they're talking on the phone. Driving while using a cell phone can lead to crashes because talking.
Johnny Finger Lakes, they should definitely be better. I mean, when Von Miller was healthy, they looked like the best team in the AFC. But I will say once again, their defense is undersized up front. And, I mean, let's face it, when their defense has had to make plays, they have not been able to make plays. And they can't run the ball. They can't do to Cincinnati what Cincinnati did to them in the playoff game. They can't do to the Eagles what the Chiefs did to them in the Super Bowl.
We got Mike on the line.
Oh, wow. Great. Is the air kicked on yet? Good.
I take it you didn't hear from Bruce.
No. But then again, I don't hear from anybody. You know, there are times in which I feel as if we're working in the witness protection program. We have so little contact with the people we work for. And in many ways, it's great. But in some ways, it's disconcerting. By the way, I got a thing that says I'm getting paid tomorrow.
Yeah, I got that too.
Okay.
I thought it was for today, but
yeah, I don't know if she didn't get to it till, start doing the paperwork yesterday or what.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dusty May, the men's basketball coach at FAU. One of the biggest surprise stories of the season. 24-2 are the Owls. They had a 20-game winning streak earlier this year. He will join us for the first time coming up at the top of the hour. Seth Everett, 1 hour from now. It's a pleasure to welcome back Mike Missanelli. Been crushing it on the Philly sports scene for decades. You can catch Mike two different places. First, his podcast, the Mike Missanelli Podcast, sponsored by Bet Rivers. And he also covers the Eagles on Jacob Media. Follow Mike on Twitter, Mike Miss 25. Mike Miss 25. Mike, it's David and Mark once again. Thanks for your time. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Well, we are doing well. And all right, I'll go back as far as 1980 when the four teams all made the finals, three of them lost, and the Phillies won the World Series. Where does this Super Bowl setback rank on the heartache scale in the Philadelphia sports world?
It's pretty high up on the list. I don't think it's as high as when they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the last day of Veterans Stadium with a chance to go to the Super Bowl. But it's right up there. And here's why. When you get there, you never are guaranteed to get back, especially now. This loss was devastating to them. They had a chance to really kick in the door. And now things change. They've lost two coordinators. They've got a quarterback they have to pay $50 million to. They're going to lose 6 starters. So there's all kinds of transition that's happening. And the window was there, and they didn't get through it. And that's what I think people in Philly are feeling now.
Well, what's the biggest concern now, Mike? I mean, filling the roster back with the starters you lost, the coordinators. This is for a team that went to the Super Bowl and was right there. There's a lot of work that has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, pick one. The coordinator. Let's take the coordinators first. If you lose 2 coordinators, there's a whole different adjustment. Now, I would think that they're going to promote from within, and Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach, who's close with Hurts, will probably be the offensive coordinator. I don't know what they're going to do defensively. And, Gannon was it's funny because people here didn't appreciate Gannon at all because of his lack of aggression. And he got a job coming off probably his worst performance in that game where there was no aggression against the Kansas City Chiefs. And they did not get to the quarterback. So he gets the job, but he had created a formula that made them the second best defense in the league. They got to the quarterback with rushing 4, which allowed them to keep 7 in the back line and play a pretty stiff zone defense at 2 high safety. And, so he's gone. And I don't know, how they're going to do it. The other thing is they're going to lose at least 3 important players on defense. They're going to lose a cornerback. I don't think James Bradbury's coming back. He's just going to get too much money from somebody else. Fletcher Cox probably not going to be back. Brandon Graham is a guy who may take a hometown discount to come back. They're going to lose a linebacker. So there's a lot of rebuilding to do. And on the other side of the football, they're probably not going to sign Miles Sanders. They may lose Kelsey depending on what he decides to do. They're going to lose a right guard, Shea Malo. So all those guys are going to be lost because Jalen Hurts is now going to get a 3,500% raise from $1.5 million to about $50 million.
Well, I will say, though, I believe the raise won't go into effect until 24, so they can at least, take a deep breath cap-wise in 23. But I'm looking at the defensive list, Mike, and we're talking with Mike Missanelli, the Philly sports scene. Follow him on Twitter, Mike Miss 25. Mike Hargrave, defensive tackle. Okay, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the safety Epps.
imperative to keep both of them.
Okay, and that's what I'm wondering, because obviously,
Hargrave earned it.
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at here. If you're Howie Roseman, Mike, what's your top 3 priority list this offseason? It's tough to get more than 3 things accomplished. What is it?
C.J. Gardner-Johnson is probably my top priority. He really, he showed his versatility. He could play when they needed him to play slot, which they did. He came in and did a nice job there. He's a ferocious competitor, and he's 24 years old. They've got to keep him. Hargrave is also, I think, essential because they've got to have that middle rotation still fortified. And Jordan Davis is going to be a big part, the kid from Georgia next year, and they have another guy, Quint Johnson, who's going to figure in it. But I think Hargrave is very important, and I don't have to break the bank for him. So I think those 2 guys will be the priority to bring back on defense. And unfortunately, Bradbury was a good player here. Unfortunately, they're probably not going to be able to keep him, but they get the 10th pick in the draft, so they can probably grab a corner there to solve that problem.
Well, and that's the other side of this, Mike. You look at it, Howie Roseman didn't make any mistakes really at all, and would have to think with the way the draft capital they have, it can be retooled, right?
Yes. Yeah, they've got 2 first-round picks, obviously, so they can fortify that. But, like attrition is a tough thing. Who loses 2 coordinators? I mean, that just doesn't happen. And so that causes all kinds of upheaval because you got to get used to new people and the guys have to buy into a new guy and all that stuff. And that's the big lament here of them not winning a Super Bowl that they were really in control of.
No question. Outgained them by over 100 yards. I mean, ran almost 20 more plays than did the Chiefs. I mean, that's over a quarter. That's damn near a third of a game more plays in a normal game than the Chiefs ran. It was certainly there for the taking. Mike Missanelli, who covers the Philly sports scene, follow him on Twitter, Mike Miss, MISS 25. It's funny, Mike. It seemed as if everybody was picking Philadelphia. The spread was 1.5. Did it feel that way in your neck of the woods too? Like, this is our Super Bowl, no doubt about it, we're going to win? I mean, because the way everybody was picking Philadelphia, you would have thought you guys were favored by 10.
You hit on a great point because all week long, I didn't talk to one person. I talked to a lot of people during the week and, fans and the like. And I didn't get one bad vibe, and that scared the hell out of me because when everybody is so certain that the Eagles are going to win, that there's something missing. They were missing that the line was only 1.5. So I thought it was going to be a 1-point game. I thought the Eagles would win by a point. And when I saw the first half, I said, "Wow, what?" And then I saw Mahomes, and I said, "Well, there's no way that the Chiefs are going to be able to come back in this game." And the quarterback looks cooked. And it just didn't turn out that way. They scored on 4 of their possessions. And I just didn't expect it. They didn't get to the quarterback at all. And I know people were complaining that Reddick was complaining about slipping. And, both teams had a play on that field. The second half was stunning for their inactivity on defense. They almost looked like they got scared in the second half. And that wasn't this team all year. They had a swagger. They had an answer for everything that any opponent had for them. So, yeah, back to your question, it was very strange that everybody, even nationally, but mostly in Philadelphia, were so certain they were going to win the game. I thought they missed a little bit. They missed respecting that other team.
Well, and you mentioned losing both coordinators, but in going in-house to replace them, just the thoughts on the defensive side of continuing to replace from inside, because if you're going to lose all those players, they didn't change their philosophy during the game. Do you have to, even if it's in-house, have someone that's more willing to blitz from this point forward?
Yeah, I would think so. It was funny that they didn't make any adjustments, and that this is why I look again and I go, wow, it's really easy that you got a head coaching job, but he didn't make one adjustment. Like, they didn't stunt Reddick, they didn't blitz to change the tempo. I thought it was a pretty poor performance by him, especially in the second half. And people just disliked him all year because, in Philadelphia, we have this mindset where, And this was because of past coordinators, like the Buddy Ryans, the Jim Johnsons. They were always more aggressive and had their hair on fire type of defense. And Gannon was more cerebral that way. And even though they were producing, he wasn't very popular here. So there are a lot of people that are saying good riddance, but I didn't. I thought he played his personnel perfectly. He trusted his four up front, and that allowed him to be really good on the back end, and they produced good results. So, I would think that there's going to be a little tweak. They'll be a little more aggressive. But again, you're changing a philosophy that was pretty sound based on the personnel. Now the personnel is going to change, so maybe you'll have to do some different things.
Pressure to win a championship shift more to the Phillies or the Sixers?
Well, the Sixers are now the last day. It's funny because this is supposed to be the glory season. You know, the Phillies going into the Eagles, going into the Sixers, and the Sixers now the last team standing. And I don't think they have enough. I think that unfortunately, all this optimism about the Phillies winning something, the town of Philadelphia winning something, it's not going to happen this year, unfortunately. But then it goes into baseball season, and everybody's optimistic. But now I'm looking at predictions that say the Phillies are slightly behind the Mets and the Atlanta Braves. So Bryce Harper's not going to be able to play until July. So there might be have to be another one of these playoff runs where they come from a wild card spot.
That's all right. You were third last year, and you came within 2 games of winning it all. Exactly. So, Mike, thanks so much. As always, appreciate your time. Continued success with your podcast and with Jacob Media, and hopefully we can talk again.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And just know that the Philadelphia fan base is hurting. And I know that like people around the country don't have sympathy for that, but they're hurting.
Mike Missanelli, his daily podcast, sponsored by Bet Rivers, and he covers the Eagles on Jacob Media. Follow Mike on Twitter, Mike Miss, M-I-S-S, Mike Miss 25, Mike Miss 25.
I don't know if there's a city in the United States that would get less sympathy for a hurting sports fan than the Philadelphia sports fan. I don't think we have much sympathy for the Philadelphia sports fan as a sports nation.
Well, no, because they don't, bring a lot of sympathy onto themselves. It's tough when you're an in-your-face group. The New York sports fan, the Boston sports fan, the Philly sports fan. When you're an in-your-face group, it's then tough to go, oh, man, I mean, it hurts losing, coming so close. This is going to be a tough one to pick ourselves up from. Yeah. Instead, you got people on the sidelines going, oh, how's it feel? Huh? Light me on fire.
I can just hear that "we're from Philly" chant in my head all the time as they've lost the game going, yeah, you are. And you're back on your island. Hope you like it.
The Eagles fan likes to, when things are going well or they see you in a neutral setting, they flap their arms like wings and they look at you like, yeah, that's who's doing it right now. And so then, of course, you know what you do. You wait until they lose a big game and you look right at that same Eagles fan and you give them the half a wing. You just do it a couple times, not the big flap of the wings with your arms, just kind of the half flap. And then you look at them and go, no, too soon. And then you put your arms by your side and you just turn, you walk away.
I almost feel like was it Joe Spotter you talk about who does that to Troy all the time?
Yeah, Ed Svita. Absolutely. He's a Philly sports fan.
Of a video today.
Every time we do an Eagles game and they score, he yells over, hey, 8, because that was Troy's number before he named it his beer, 8. Okay. And Troy eventually looks thinking Ed's got some information for him. And then all Ed does is flap his wings. Okay. And look at him. Troy just shakes his head. Got the fans do it up into the booth. They yell, hey, Troy. And he'll look down at him and they start flapping their wings at him.
Makes him feel good.
Actually, it's funny. He says, sometimes I get treated better in Philly than I do in Dallas. Okay. He says, for whatever reason, my stock has grown in Philly post-playing career.
Well, it certainly can't grow when you're playing against them. That's for sure, because the
No.
hatred is real.
Yep.
When you come take on the Eagles in any way, shape, or form. So the Philly sports fan is hurting today. Take sympathy, if you will.
Well, it was kind of, he didn't say take sympathy. He just stopped that. He just said,
hinted at it.
guys, I just want you to know we're hurting right now. You know, you come to whatever conclusion you want to come to.
21,000. Do you care that the Philadelphia sports fan is hurting?
Do you feel for the Philadelphia sports fan?
Or would you rather rub their nose in it and fly your Eagles right now? Flap your wings at the Eagles fan.
Speaking of flapping wings, you know, FAU's the Owls, you know, 24-2, a lot of flapping going on in Boca. A lot of flapping. Not flopping, flapping.
We hate flopping.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Officials don't know how to call it. They're now calling both a block and a charge on these plays now. That's the truth. Okay. They're calling it a blarge. Anyway, Dusty May, head coach of the FAU Owls, one of the best stories of the season, will join us next.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com. Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I heard it. Call that SID number.
Coach May's voicemail, so I'll try ID.
Okay, doke.
Guys, I think the quarterback that sponsors are going to try to get on the cheap before they think he cracks it big is Trevor Lawrence. I have a feeling we'll see some Trevor Lawrence commercials early next football season. Certain sponsors trying to grab him right before they think he pops.
Coach May is on.
Awesome.
I got Coach on the line.
Awesome, Raj. Thank you.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the final hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice, halfway home in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Seth Everett to join us for his weekly visit coming up in roughly 35 minutes. It is a thrill for us to welcome for the first time Dusty May, the head coach of the 25th ranked Owls from FAU, 24-2 on the season. Coach, it's David and Mark. Good morning. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
It is our pleasure. Listen, you guys won 19 games last year, so you had to think you were going to be pretty good this year, but did you think you were going to be this good?
No, not at all. Well, we knew we were going to be good. You never anticipate this type of streak or this type of record just because it's so difficult to win each and every night. But we did feel like we underachieved last year because we just let some games slip away. We had some timely injuries. It just seemed like everything went wrong last year, whereas this year a lot has went right.
When you become the hunted, when you start winning like this in conference play, I would imagine it becomes tougher. How has your team handled, how have you all handled the pressure of the success and continued to win games?
Well, these guys are so competitive in between the lines, even at practice or individual workouts, they're ultra competitive. So, even when people would be talking about them on campus and they became almost rock stars around here, you could sense a little bit was changing off the court, but in between the lines, they never changed. They never wavered on their approach and what got us to that point. So I think that their competitive spirit's what saved us from being complacent.
FAU heading on the road once again in conference play. They've had a couple close ones lately on the road, including an overtime win recently, although that was at home. They're at Middle Tennessee State tomorrow, looking for win number 25 on the season. Listen, you paid your dues, 15 years as an assistant, and you get the job 5 years ago. They haven't won consistently at FAU until you, okay? Give yourself a little credit here. What's one thing you think you have done which you look back on and you go, that was a smart thing I did?
Well, two things: hired a staff that really, really cares about our guys and their teachers first, and I think that's attracted the right kind of guys for us.
And obviously, with that, you're able to get players to buy in. When it comes to the rest of the season, when the accolades are there, is it just as simple as between the lines working, Coach, or is it a fine line between pressing them and knowing when to lay off?
No, there's definitely that piece that's probably as difficult as anything, because we were talking about yesterday. Even in football, you talk about some programs they practice and they keep hitting, and then they can tackle all year and they're still physical, but they usually have some guys out with injuries. Then you have other programs that don't really hit with pads, and they're fresher and they're healthy, but they lose their edge a little bit. So we've kind of tried to balance that as much as possible lately, where we still need to stay sharp, we still need to practice the right way, but also we have to prevent injuries. Thankfully, our guys, they like practicing, so it's not as if we're pulling teeth.
Dusty May, the men's basketball coach at FAU, the 25th ranked Owls in the AP poll. You can follow him on Twitter, Coach Dusty May. Coach Dusty May. Listen, let's be honest. There's a whole bunch of sports fans that beginning this week are going to pay attention to college basketball for the first time this season. Like, you're on CBS Sports Network tomorrow night. They're going to see FAU. If they haven't seen your team, Cliff Notes, what is it you guys do well?
We share the ball extremely well on offense, and we're tenacious on defense. We're very active, we're aggressive, and we're a great rebounding team despite being small at 4 to 5 positions on the floor at all times. So I think it's a scrappy team that really has great chemistry amongst the guys on the court.
I know you don't want to think about these things, but a lot of conferences get one bid. You have already made a resume. How important is it to finish this out so you don't get caught in what so many times happens to these teams who have great regular seasons? How important is it to finish this out?
Incredibly important, but it's also important that we don't look too far ahead. And we talked about that in a team meeting this week, that we can't control what happens in a month if we don't win our conference tournament. And even that's not directly in front of us. We have to, all focuses on Middle Tennessee State, and then we turn the page to the next. We really don't want to get too far ahead of the next possession, just because it's distracting and it adds more pressure and anxiety to an already pressure-packed situation.
I know it had to be special for you because you were an assistant there for a few seasons, but the early season win against the Gators, was that a springboard? Because it looked like, I mean, literally, if you look at your schedule, it led to the beginning of the 20-game winning streak. Was that the type of win that your team looked at one another and said, well, hell, then we can beat anybody on our schedule?
Yeah, that's well said. I think that's what it did. It gave our guys confidence that we can literally go, if we can go into an SEC environment like that and find a way to win and play very well in spurts, then we can beat anyone in the country. And so I think it just gave us a little bit of a boost. We lost on a buzzer beater to Miami last year at home, so we've been really close and just hadn't been able to get over the hump the last 2 years. So I do think it just gave our guys that belief.
What's the thing you harp on what they've got to improve upon? It's tough with the record that you have to get guys to say they still have to improve. But as a coach, I know you're always grinding. What is it you have to get better at?
Our edge and fire defensively. We've been scoring much better the last three out of 4 games. We've had great offensive metrics, but defensively we've taken a major step back. We were number 1 a week ago in defensive efficiency in our league, and now we've dropped to number 2. And the third place team's chomping at our heels. So we have to get our competitive fire, our juice back on the defensive end, because we've been scoring better.
All right. I mean, you're already working on a 3-game winning streak, but during the 20-game winning streak, how superstitious did you get? Like, did you start wearing the same tie, the same socks? I mean, had you ever been a part of a 20-game winning streak before? I'm just curious, did you get a little superstitious?
Not at all. I'm not a superstitious person at all. I'm a superstitious bone in my body. And I'd been a part of maybe an 18-game winning streak as an assistant at Louisiana Tech, a really long one. I believe we started out 16-0 in league and maybe won the 2 games prior to that. So been in something similar, but I know people don't believe us, but all we talk about is how it just happens so fast and you win a game. And as a coach, we just turn our attention to the next game. So you don't ever really think about it or talk about it. until maybe you get a stat sheet and you say, are we really 15-1? Are we really on a 13? And it's almost, then you laugh and say we are, and then you move on and you don't think about it again. So I think about every 3 to 5 games, I would say, are we really 6-1? Are we really 9-1? And just, it kept going, but you don't have time to really process it.
Well, Coach, thanks for making time for us, particularly this hour. We know you're going to get a practice in before you get on the plane and head to, Murfreesboro there. Good luck tomorrow night. Continued success this season. Hopefully we can talk again in around the conference tournament.
That'd be great. I appreciate you having me on.
Dusty May, one of the great stories of the college basketball season. 5 years at FAU. They've had a winning season every year. 19 wins last year. And now 24-2. They've been nationally ranked in and out of the bottom part of the rankings for about basically the last 3-4 weeks. They're 25th in the AP. They're just out of the top 25 in the coaches poll. 20-game winning streak. They lost like the first or second game of the year and didn't lose again until like 2 weeks ago.
5 left on the schedule, 3 on the road. They play La Tech as their regular season finale. They went to overtime with La Tech just about a week ago. Or a couple of days ago, I should say.
You got it. By the way, Shelby Mast, who we'll have on next hour, he has FAU as an 8 seed. Okay, think about it. They're a Conference USA, all right, but he has them as an 8 seed. That's quite a bit of wiggle room. If let's just say they go 4-1 down the stretch, they're 28-3 entering the conference tournament. Say they lose the conference final, they'd be 30-4, probably. I mean, how many teams win 28, 29, 30 games and don't get an at-large? I mean, like you said, you used the words finish this off. They finish off this regular season. I don't even know if they have to do anything to get in, if you know what I mean.
I don't think they should. I mean, what you just said, 30 wins, David.
Yeah.
I don't care what conference you're in. You approach, that's rarefied air. That should be a bit. If you're an 8 seed, you're in. If they lose one more, where is he going to drop them to? A 9 or a 10? That still should be in as an at-large. And that's why when you start looking at what Wisconsin's done and North Carolina's done and some of these other teams, I don't know how you could keep them out. I don't.
I mean, just so you know, there is not a team in the country with more wins. In fact, I'm looking to see if there's a team in the country with as many wins. Houston and Purdue each have 23 wins. And I understand, their strength of schedule is a little different. We get that. The Gators, by the way, are within 10 spots of making the tournament. They won at Gainesville. I mean, if Florida's at the bottom of the bubble and FAU beat them at their place, I mean, that's the game that you circle mark, because that's why I think, barring a collapse here in the last 2 weeks, they're in. Because, let's just say they lose once, they lose early in the conference tournament, they're 28-4. Well, you could sit around when you're baiting them and go, well, we're seriously considering Florida, and these guys beat them at their place. And as you've mentioned, I mean, come on, middle of the Big Ten, the SEC. I mean, the Pac-12 is getting no more than 3 bids right now. I mean, there's got to be a spot for an FAU, right?
This year of all years.
So nice to catch up with Dusty May.
He'll be coaching at a Power 5 school near you next year.
Oh, boy. Yeah, unless he just, is holding out for something better, And FAU will have to back up the truck to keep him for another year. Lane stayed 3 years. Remember, Lane won the conference his first year at FAU, stayed 2 more years. Waited for the right job. But, I mean, Ole Miss job is going to open up. I mean, we can start rattling off the Power 5 jobs that are going to open up here. How he wouldn't be on a short list.
Yeah, it's just taking the right one, though, because the Georgia job will probably open up again, too, and who would want that? I mean, you and I have trouble with Alabama being number 1 in the country with high school basketball the way it is in Atlanta. The SEC should be better all the way across the board.
So, but Dusty May, been trying to get him on. Thanks to the good folks there in Boca for helping us out, getting him on. Nice of him to do the interview. He's going to practice and then head on a plane and head to Murfreesboro. Hope we didn't jinx him. They lose tomorrow. We'll never get them again.
He's not superstitious. He said it. We're fine. I'm telling you. It's okay, David.
He's not superstitious when they're winning. Okay. He talks to two Yahoos and they lose. He might be.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
If Solid Oak Tree or anyone else who's on Twitch who normally listens to us in Lake City, apparently we've been moved. Apparently we're now on 2 FMs. We're now on 103.1 and 95.9. So we are on, but we are no longer on 106.1. We're on 103.1 and 95.9. Right. Double the fun. So apparently they moved us. Obviously they didn't tell us. And they're sending a press release out Monday. No, Fly did not get canned for recruiting. Fly got canned because certain boosters didn't want him anymore and attendance was dipping. And so he got blamed for it. Fly got fired for business reasons.
Huh.
Nobody gets fired for winning 22 games. There's only one other coach in the country who got fired winning 22 games last year. Okay. And that coach was Will Wade, and he was cheating like a and they caught him. Mark, we apparently have been moved in Lake City.
I just was told, yeah.
95.9 and 103.1.
Good to know.
I love the fact they moved us. We'll be on all this week, and they're sending the press release out Monday. Not last Monday, like when they did the move. Sending it out. Okay. By the way, Pat Chambers at the top of the hour for you FGCU fans. Pat Chambers. The last road game of the regular season is tomorrow at Stetson. I think they go back-to-back with Stetson.
Love watching my Purdue transfer over there, Isaiah Thompson.
Good-looking player.
Crowded backcourt, so can't blame him.
Yeah, I think Johnston should be starting, but I don't know anything. Oh, I guess FGCU's playing Stetson tonight. Thought it was tomorrow. Stetson, a 2.5-point favorite.
Pretty much a must-win for FGCU now, I mean, isn't it?
The 2 wins got them into, I think, 10th. They're in the playoffs right now.
I've got them as they're 11th on mine, tied with North Florida.
They're tied with Queens and North Florida. I got them in a 3-way tie for 8th. So 8, 9, or 10.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. They've got this thing all screwed up the way they do their.
About 15 seconds. Heads.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Our weekly chat with Seth Everett coming up in less than 20 minutes. For those that will stick with us in one way, shape, or form in the bonus hour, FGCU coach Pat Chambers and USA Today bracketologist Shelby Mast. We're going to have Shelby on every Wednesday the rest of the way to ask him simply who's in, who's out. Kentucky, go. North Carolina. It's going to be, rapid fire interview with Shelby Mast. That's 1 hour from now. So what are you most fired up about? Okay, football in the rearview mirror, at least the games. Okay, what are you most fired up about between now and, I don't know, between now and July 4th?
Well, I will say I'm a sucker, David. It changes by week. The news yesterday that Tiger Woods was playing got me fired up. I'm not a moron. I don't think he's going to go win. But the fact that he's playing made me happy.
Excited?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, excited. I'm
All
excited
right.
for him. And I will say there's part of me, and the gearhead I turned into. This is just watching Ross Chastain coming off the wall at Martinsville last year and getting himself into the Final Four. Daytona, slightly. But it's now a week-to-week basis for me. College basketball is probably the thing I'll watch the most of over the course of the next few weeks on a nightly basis. But it's just piecing together. We do segments on this show. Sports becomes segmented to me right now.
Mm-hmm. That's fair enough. Here's what I'm curious about. Anyone answer baseball? Anyone at all? I mean, we had David Sampson on yesterday, and he said when we were in the game, the day after the Super Bowl was a huge party for us in baseball. We were like, yeah, baby, now it's our turn. And he was in the game not that long ago. And so here we are. I mean, literally the days after the Super Bowl are what? Pitchers and catchers report. There are new rules in baseball this year. It really should make the game have more excitement, more offense. There should be more base hits that get through holes that now will be there on the field with no shifts. We should have more running in the game. Oh my goodness. The game's never been more athletic. Well, we haven't seen it because everybody's standing around waiting for the 3-run homer. Now we may see it.
What it should have, what they are trying more than anything, is for the game to have pace, David.
And action.
That's the rules they've implemented in the game. To have more pace, to have more action, to have more movement.
So I'm just curious, when we asked you the question, hey, what are you most excited about? Anybody say to themselves or sheepishly out loud, or maybe even you yelled it, baseball? Anybody? Bueller? Hello? Because, Mark, I mean, we both love baseball. I probably love it a little more than you.
Oh, no. You clearly love it more than me. And I'm not, because you're still, and I thought about this for a while, and part of it is, it does have to do with the team you grew up rooting for. I can still love the sport, but it's to get fired up in March and April. It at least takes the team that you root for to think that they have a pulse. And the team that I've rooted for really has not had a pulse in a decade. Your team has a new owner, an influx of money. There's a little excitement. And I'm not saying that's the reason why, but it certainly helps early when you think your team has some life to it.
Right. You root for a team that right now is out. They would have to have a Baltimore Orioles type of season this year, which truly came out of nowhere, in which Orioles fan was giddy Labor Day weekend last year when they're like, I can't believe we're in a playoff race. We won like 50 games last year. Right, because you root for the Tigers, and right now the Tigers would be on the list of teams that we've already eliminated. They have no shot.
And it's been that way for quite a while. So I do think that that's part of it.
But my first reaction, which for the longest time would have been, what are you most excited about? Baseball. That was not my first reaction. It wasn't even my second reaction. For me, it was March Madness and the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And the Stanley Cup playoffs are still just far enough away that I have them at arm's length.
Right. I mean, you know me, Mark. I mean, hell, we got to get past the trading deadline.
Exactly.
I mean, that's like 2 weeks from Friday. I mean, me and trading deadlines. So, that was my answer. March Madness, Stanley Cup playoffs. But I could see where Tiger, God forbid he has a pulse and actually, throws a top 25 finish up there. And it's like, ooh, really?
And the golf geek in me cannot wait for the Masters, with everybody from the two tours playing together for really the first time. And if this Full Swing documentary has any juice to it whatsoever, it should make the Masters more interesting.
Right.
And that's hard to do. It is the golf tournament. It will be more interesting this year.
If you were the PGA Tour, don't you think it's a little awkward that the defending champion of the Players isn't going to be playing? Do you make an exception going forward? Let's just say these two tours are going to have to figure out a way that we go through the courts. LIV wins more than they lose. And these tours are going to somehow, some way have to coexist in the same golf stratosphere. If you're the PGA Tour, would you ever allow a defending champion to, because there's a part of me that thinks I'd let Cam Smith play in the Players.
I find that coming out of your mouth to be one of the strangest things I've ever heard you say, because there is nobody that I know on earth that holds a grudge quite the way that David Moulton holds a grudge. So I need you to think in terms of David Moulton running the PGA Tour. They would be dead to you. There's no way you would let them back on. You wouldn't have sympathy for someone just because they won a tournament. They would be dead. They've shunned you.
Well, but deep down, I think that legally, as much as I know about the damn law, but, we're independent contractors. So are professional golfers. I mean, I happen to think the law is on the side of the golfers here, not the tour. So I'm anticipating that the LIV golfers are going to win, and that these two tours, as long as the Saudis want to keep, losing a few billion a year, that, they're just going to keep shelling out the money. I just think it's weird. If you're the PGA Tour, the Players is your number one tournament. You're not allowing NBC to show any video of the guy who won last year, who's still ranked in the top 5 of the world, who's the reigning British Open champion. I mean, are they also not going to show highlights of him winning the British because he's an LIV golfer? I mean, I just think it's, I don't know.
Petty, ridiculous, immature. There's a lot of those things.
I mean, and you could pass a rule in which you say, listen, you guys, you're barred unless you're a defending champion of a tournament. And in theory, it allows them into this year's Players. I don't know. It just seems weird. It's your biggest event of the year. Hey, where's the defending champion? We're not letting them through the
We
doors.
booted him.
And the funny thing is, he lives 10 minutes from the golf course.
Yeah, I don't even think they'd let him buy a ticket and walk on the grounds, David.
What are they going to treat him like Patrick Reed's parents?
Exactly. Don't worry, he'll be just be fine wiping those tears with the $100 bills that he has laying around the house.
All right. It's just a thought. I've had many stupid ones over the years. Thanks for indulging me in another one.
No, it's not necessarily stupid at all. I just find, it's a little crossroads for me because I know if you're running the PGA Tour, these guys would be as dead to you as dead could get. Seth Everett, not dead to us. He's next. Right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, man.
Hi,
Morning.
Seth.
Morning. I got this T-shirt over the weekend with you guys in mind. I planned on wearing it for this show. I love this.
Can we
I
see
saw- I
it?
saw it.
Oh, NHL playoffs in the late 80s, baby.
I effing love this shirt. I was like,
Where
oh
did
my
you
God.
find the shirt?
What?
Where did you find that glorious thing?
Some, algorithm on social media did a promo, and this was their picture. The guy was more handsome than me, but I was like, oh my God, Sports Channel, that's amazing. And I clicked. It was like less than $20. It was tremendous.
Seriously?
What was it? That 70s
sports?
No, it's called the logo
No, that's
right here. It's called Local Vintage with a Y.
Okay.
Vintage with a Y.
That 70 Sports has some fun shirts. I keep meaning to buy the Carver High.
Oh, I was like, oh my God, this is funny. And then when I was like, so I like bookmarked it, and when I came back to it, I was like, oh my God, how much fun will this be? Miller and Moulton will love this.
Absolutely. I saw it when you came on. I'm like, he's got a Sports Channel shirt on.
Sports Channel shirt. That's amazing. That was our flagship with the early days of the Devils.
Sure was.
Al Albert, Stan Fisher.
Well, and then Gary Thorne.
Gary Thorne. Well, yeah, future Sports with Friends guest Gary Thorne.
Yes, that's how he's remembered, by the way. Gary Thorne. Long career.
Gary Thorne, by the way, with one of the greatest call, of John McClain's overtime goal. But Gary Thorne played a trick on Billy Sample at the All-Star game in MLB. He was doing the MLB International feed. And Billy Sample just says, "Is there anything you do to cater the broadcast to an international audience?" He says, "Yeah, well, we do every inning in a different language."
But that Devils playoff run cost Gary Thorne his Mets gig.
That's right.
Because the Mets didn't mind him being the voice of the Devils, because the Devils' regular season ended right around the first week of the baseball season. But then when the Devils made the playoffs for the first time and went all the way to the conference finals, he missed a bunch of Mets games, and the Mets said, yeah, you can't ever do that again. And he said, well, I'm not giving this up. And they said, well, then you're giving us up.
Yep. And then he and we talked about it because I just had Peter McNabb, his partner, on the podcast, and Peter was talking about Gary and the Mets and the issues with the Mets, and I remember all of that.
And this is a little, inside baseball if you're not either into broadcasting or into the Mets, but the Mets radio, first of all, the Mets were bad, and the Mets broadcast had become stale. And they hired Tim McCarver to join their television broadcasts in the early 80s. And Gary Thorne joined Bob Murphy on the radio and really brought Murphy back to life.
Yep.
His genuine enthusiasm, got Murphy out of his rut.
Yeah. So Gary couldn't do it when we were trying to get him. I was trying to get him on the week after Peter. And then when Peter passed, I reached out to Gary, and we're planning something for March. So hopefully I make that happen in March. I would love to talk to him. He's an icon in my eyes. But yeah, Sports Channel. Jiggs McDonald, Ed Westfall, doing the Islanders games.
McDonald, the Southwest Florida resident.
Yes, he is.
Listen to
former
our
voice
show.
of the Panthers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
How ironic it was he and Denny Potvin for all those years doing Panthers games.
Panthers games, yep.
About 30 seconds.
But they had no history then, so it was, you might as well pick guys that people might know.
Right?
The one thing Mark tried desperately to do, we did a live show from the Panthers arena a few years ago, and Mark was desperately trying to get Denny Potvin to come sit down with us.
Potvin sucks.
Exactly.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We're on a new home in Lake City, but we're still there. Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour at the top of the hour for our loyal listeners in the 239. Seth Everett joins us once again at this day and time. He of the three terrific and successful podcasts. That needs to be pointed out. There are many terrific podcasts. 19 of them are successful. He has 3 of them, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Tech Stream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. I have to admit, for your ability to honk people off, the fact that you keep attracting sponsors, I mean, because Miller and Moulton are very good at losing sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're all very friendly with one another. And you figure our personalities are similar, and yet you're successful at attracting them and keeping them. That's something.
Yeah, there's a new trend in podcasting. It's called programmatic, and what it basically does is the podcast app that you listen to puts their own ads in. And I received an offer for one of my podcasts to change the model and go to a programmatic model. Right now, any commercials that I do them and I personalize them. But if they're programmatic, that means it's going to be geared towards you. So if you listen to Hall of Justice per se, you would get some kind of Florida business commercial. Whereas if I listen to Hall of Justice, I would get something from New Jersey. And it would be catered to the listener. And it's an interesting trend, but that's what advertisers like. Advertisers like the targeted ads. For a podcast that goes global, and I'm doing ads for, a food company that's only available in the United States, they don't like that, so that's the struggle. I know that a little under the hood, but yeah, podcasting is changing in that way.
Is it harder to get guests on your show now that there's 5 million podcasts out there?
It's very laborious because I try to do it, conducive to their schedules. So my schedule is very different every day, depending on what's booked. Hall of Justice was recorded last week. That's a massive burden off my plate this week because I knew it was there. So it's not necessarily harder. I still get pitches from PR people all the time. And I have to decide if they're interesting or not. I have a podcast that I'm going to do in March on Ken Caminiti. This author came to me and asked if he could come on the podcast, and I didn't have any interest in Ken Caminiti. I recorded it and I really enjoyed it, and it's something that I'm going to use. So in that sense, you never know where these pitches go.
You didn't have any interest in a Ken Caminiti guest, a guy who was a good player, all of a sudden became a great player because he became a steroid pig.
I read the book,
and then ended up having problems and passing away at a young age, and we'll all wonder whether or not his massive steroid use, influenced the rest of his life.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing was the guy was very flexible. So we recorded it, I want to say in December, and that was the heart of football, and I was doing a bunch of football-centric podcasts. So I held it, and I'm going to run it in March when spring training is in full swing.
Okay.
How'd you take in the Super Bowl, and how'd you like halftime?
I was okay. The Super Bowl was great. The game was great. I was thrilled for my buddy Kevin Burkhardt. I thought he was great. I thought Greg Olson was great. I just thought the broadcast was fantastic. Halftime was, it didn't do anything for me. I have a funny Rihanna story. Rihanna, before she had her first record released, she had just signed her record deal, and a record company sent her to the MLB studios to do some kind of feature interview. So she came into our studio, and she was this really gorgeous girl named Rihanna with one name, and we didn't know who she was.
When is this? 03?
Yeah, it's 03. It was 03. And Daryl, my Daryl Hamilton, my late partner, he was all about Rihanna. He was like, "Oh my God, she is stunning. I have to talk to her. And she rejected him so quickly. It was hysterical. And so, so that was a running gag. Who's coming to the studio today? Is this Rihanna coming back? Daryl, is she running away from you? And then she had a record, and she came out with hits. And all of a sudden, she was like this star. And it was so random because this girl that we had met and I think we ate food with her. We had pizza with her or something. And then the next thing you know, she became this like mega star. And as far as the production and all that stuff, I mean, look, just if you need, I'll send you the YouTube link of Prince's halftime show in 2007. Still, bar none, the single greatest halftime performance.
Well, we don't disagree. I mean, singing,
Purple Rain in the Rain.
In the rain. That's, I mean, you can create all the props that you want, but that's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, it was tremendous. Just a really a culmination. Just he milked it for everything. He took it and ran with it.
Well, we were talking because we were covering that Super Bowl. We were on Radio Row, and we did not attend. And we
his
could
press
have.
conference.
His press conference was before our show aired live, and we've explained to people we used to get there mid-morning and we would tape we would be available for 5 hours worth of taping. Whoever we could get, we would tape and what have you, but there was time to break for lunch, etc. And there was time to attend the press conference. And so we both looked at one another and said, well, he never does interviews. The room's going to be packed. This is going to be awful. And then, of course, he shows up and he doesn't do an interview. He plays for 12 minutes.
Right. Right.
And especially Mark, even more than me.
This is the biggest colossal disappointment of my professional career, bar none. I don't know who we were interviewing. Somebody that's in a Hall of Fame, probably.
Right.
It was a waste of my time because all of a sudden you heard it. It's upstairs in a different room. Radio Row's at the Miami Beach Convention Center, and all of a sudden you hear it start, and I'm in the middle of this interview going, I can't walk away from this guy, but I really want to walk away from this guy.
Actually, he was lobbying me during the interview. I remember you looked at me and you're like, I want to go. Okay. Can you finish this? I think we were like talking to Hall of Fame cornerback Mike Haynes, okay, who I was thrilled to talk to, one of the original cover corners in NFL history. And Mark's looking at me like, listen, Goober, you take this. That sounds to me like Prince.
I just heard this story yesterday. Do you know the columnist Sid Hartman?
Oh yeah,
the Minnesota columnist.
Yeah.
He was like 90 at that Super Bowl, and Prince is walking with his his band and their security, and they're walking towards that press conference. And Sid Hartman is just sitting on the side, and Prince stops and goes, "Hey Sid, love your work." And he walks over. And people were in the media room were like dumbfounded, like, how does Prince know Sid Hartman? But Prince was a huge sports fan, and he read Sid Hartman's column in the Star Tribune all the time.
That's right. Sid, who printed a column, turned 100, died, and had a column in the paper the next day.
That's that day of that press conference. Prince played the Hard Rock in Hollywood hotel one night only. And on a whim, like we probably decided it less than 48 hours ahead of time. My new wife at the time and I, with no kids, living in Manhattan, we went to the airport, and we went straight from the airport to the concert, and we stayed overnight at the Hard Rock. Got up at like 6 a.m. and then went right back to work.
Wow!
It was such a fun. I always call that my rock star move. That was so fun. And we did that, and and when I worked with Prince later, that was one of the shows that he was interested in that we had talked about, coming, because I saw him like over 20 times, and that was one of the more memorable ones.
He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Text Stream. Follow him on Twitter, Seth_Everett. Hey, the Phillies made an announcement. I think it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before, and I think it's far more interesting than the announcement. They locked up their two broadcasters long term for the rest of the decade. Their TV guy and their radio guy. Teams don't do this, okay, at all. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
Okay, you've worked for teams.
Yep.
Okay, very short-term deals. And they locked them up for basically the rest of the decade. And the Phillies all but came out and said, the landscape's about to change here in an hour, and we're all going to be marketing our own broadcasts, like fan by fan by fan. And so these guys are now very valuable to us.
Well, this week, and there's a new story out like 20 minutes ago that says the actual filing of the bankruptcy may be delayed. But the reality of it is Diamond Sports, which is owned by Sinclair, is filing for Chapter 11, and it'll affect, I want to say, 14 MLB teams, including Mark, your Tigers, a bunch of NBA teams and a bunch of NHL teams as well. But it's really going to impact baseball because most of the payments have been made for the NBA and the NHL.
Well, and I believe it's Marlins, Rays, Lightning.
They're all Bally's.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all Bally's. Yeah, if they're all Bally's, they're in dire straits. And the talk is that the domino effect will be is that when the bankruptcy happens, the networks, the Bally's networks will not be making the payments to the teams. So instantly that's going to impact all of those teams. You talk about teams that you're writing off before spring training even started. Some of these teams that are losing 60, 70, $80 million this year before they even throw one pitch is going to be massive. The other part of it is MLB can obtain the rights to the games and are talking about a pay a la carte package, kind of like what the MLS has with Apple. And it would be a similar contract. So there will be a way for people in Detroit to get the Tigers games, but it wouldn't be through linear television. You're going to have a lot of upset older people who don't, cut the cord and they rely on their cable service. It's going to be an absolute cluster blank. There's no other way to describe it. And you're right. The Phillies are immune to that. The Mets and the Yankees are immune to that. The Red Sox are immune to that because they're not filing for bankruptcy this year. But there is no regional sports network that is safe. And in the next 5 to 10 years, those regional sports networks are not going to look anything like what they look like now.
So for people who are watching their hockey and basketball, they'll get through this year, right, Seth?
That's the prevailing thought, is that enough of the payments have been made is that the rights will retain for this season. What happens next season, that remains to be seen. But it's almost like COVID all over again. If you remember when COVID hit, the NBA and the NHL were kind of 75% into their season, but baseball had yet to start. And it's the same kind of thing. So it's going to impact baseball first.
By the way, speaking of the NBA, do you see where NBC's already let the word out in which they said, hey, we want it back.
It's awesome.
We want it back. I know we can't negotiate for another year, but just so you know, if Turner's not going to give you what you want, we will.
What do you guys think of the idea that FS1 in their Big East coverage uses that NBA on
Well,
NBC?
but they bought it from them. That's what I was thinking. If NBC gets the NBA back, they can't go back to their old theme music.
They can't get it. I thought it was cute the first time, but now it just seems like cheating. I know it's legit, but it just feels awkward when
Seth,
they do
it's a 6:30 live broadcast. Anything FS1 does in my book is great. I love the early Big East games. I'm 180 years old. There's nothing better than Big East basketball at 6:30.
100% with you. The Devils play the Penguins later this week at 5:30. I'm thanking them.
I was going to say it'll be the first time you feel as if you've moved to Florida. You'll have dinner at 4:30 and watch your hockey. All right. What do you got here?
Sports with Friends, John Wertheim, longtime SI, 60 Minutes tennis channel, great guy. Hall of Justice is a guy by the name of Spencer Garrett. He played Chick Hearn in Winning Time. In the show, he was also in For All Mankind. He was in Iron Man 3. He was in a Transformers thing. Really cool guy, new friend, and I put him on the Hall of Justice. And then Tech Stream is all about this, how cord cutting is ruining sports as we know it, and the RSN bankruptcy and the domino effect. And Tech Stream goes very heavy into the subject we're talking about.
I can't believe I'm going to ask a question I never thought I would ask. Did I see where Michael Keaton and Affleck are both coming back as Batman?
They're in the Flash movie. Yeah, can't wait.
Can't wait.
That movie looks outstanding.
All right. Well, you don't get that eager about new movies that often, Seth. Usually it's
No, the Flash movie looks great. And the Flash TV show will have wrapped up. And my theory, this is just my theory, is that the Flash TV show leads into the movie somehow.
Mark, could we make that his middle name? What was that again? It's Seth Everett, who just joined us here on Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your week, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Go Sports Channel.
If you were watching on the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel, Seth bought a Sports Channel t-shirt. Talk about dating oneself.
Holy moly, we feel old.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The bonus hour for the 239 is next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So Jacksonville yesterday emailed me. They had their women's basketball play-by-play guy, for whatever reason, he can't do Saturday's game. And they said, hey, can you fill in? And I said, oh, well, yeah, sure. He said, yeah, you're doing the game with Artis Gilmore. I went, oh, okay.
Nice.
First off, that's a lot of leg room you got to allow right there. That's a different table and chair setup when your analyst is like 7'2". Even if he shrunk a little bit over the years, you figure he's still got to be 7 feet.
Right.
I can't believe he's doing it. I know he does most men's games still. When you think about it, they got Artis Gilmore, they got D. Brown. Played for Jacksonville.
So apparently one of the survivors in that Michigan State shooting was someone that went to Immokalee High School.
Well, so far there's been 2 survivors who have, this is their second school shooting. Like one girl was in the Mississippi school shooting last year where 4 of her classmates were killed. And I think there's another person there who survived Parkland. I mean, how about being the student back-to-back years, senior year of high school, freshman year of college, a school shooting? Oh, it was Sandy Hook? My bad. Man, holy. I'm not getting political here. I'm just talking strategy. Okay, like teams have strategy, political parties have strategy. Okay, we have said there are issues as a party that you have to be willing to lose elections on. Okay, if I was running the Democratic Party, this would be an issue I would have no problem losing elections on. If you want to stand for something, okay, this is what we stand for. And the other side will stand for what they stand for, and that's fine. But that's, I think there are certain issues. The Republicans have been really good at picking issues that they had no problem. We will lose an election on this issue. I've always respected that, whether I agreed with them or not. The Democrats have been unwilling to do it.
About 15 seconds.
Did Chambers call the hotline?
Not yet.
Damn. Okay. Have you been paying attention to the hotline?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us on this hump day as we get over it together. We have talked a little bit of football. I mean, there was some news out there in the last 24 hours, but, Tiger Woods back playing golf, college basketball season. The tournament's about a month away. So, we're Daytona's this weekend, completely sold out. Sports got a little buzz going, Mark.
It does. And it should have had it coming off of last year because it was a great playoff. We get into Ross Chastain, but he took over the NASCAR world. I mean,
can you believe they outlawed that move? I mean, they called it like the greatest damn thing they'd ever seen. They got like 4 million hits, and then they outlawed it? Seems to not be marketing 101. I don't know. Pat Chambers is kind enough to join us once again, the men's basketball coach at FGCU. They are 16-11 on the season with 4 games left in the regular season. So 20 wins is still out there. You can follow the coach on Twitter at Coach_Chambers. Coach_Chambers. Coach, it's David and Mark. How the heck are you?
Hey, guys. How you doing? I'm doing great. On the bus, on our way to the arena at Stetson to get a little shoot around in before the game tonight.
Well, have you guys played any home games this year? It seems as if you've played nothing but road games. I should point that out before your final road game of the season.
Unbelievable month of January. We were on the road 17 days. And, it showed. It definitely showed. There was illnesses, injuries. We had it all. But it's still the journey of a season, right? It happens to everybody at some point during the season. It happened to us in January. We're finally fully healthy. We won a couple games on the road, which was great. UNF in Jacksonville. And now we have our final away game tonight. So hopefully we can compete again, and then we get to be at Alico for the final 3 games.
That UNF game seemed to be a big one to me, Coach. You battled all night long and got a little bit of a kiss off the glass to win. Sometimes you need a little help. How much of a springboard do you think that game could be for you?
Yeah, I agree. We had a little bit of bad luck in January. You know, we were in one-possession games, and where we were winning those one-possession games in November, December, and then the ball just stopped bouncing our way. It was very apparent and obvious, and we didn't get those rolls. It seemed like the opponent was getting all the rolls and all the bounces. So we finally got a little kiss, as Bill Raftery says, with the kiss. And it went in for us, and it kind of propelled us. It gave us confidence, gave us some energy and juice. And then we were able to finish off Jacksonville with the 12-0 to finish that game. So we're playing with some confidence right now for sure.
Could you just see Coach through the radio there? Okay, kind of scrunch his face and give the fist bump to Raftery with a kiss.
Come on, Raph is the best. I've had many dinners with Raph during my Villanova Penn State days, and I enjoyed having share a glass of soft beverage with him, and you could see his face crunch up, the Irish guy that he is. That's an awesome dude.
All right, quick sidebar. So Raft and Digger are tight. Digger's still doing hoops on ESPN. Raft's sitting at a bar in New Orleans at like 2, 3 in the morning, and he sees Digger, and Digger's wearing a pink shirt. Okay, when Raft leaves the bar, he goes back to the hotel. He knows what hotel in Bristol Digger's at. He calls the hotel, gets them to ring the room. They wake Digger out of a sound sleep. He answers the phone, and Raft says, "You wore a pink shirt? A pink shirt," and hangs up the phone.
That does not surprise me. He's a jokester for sure, and he's really, really great guy.
Coach, how do you find the line between grinding your guys with a long January like that, with the injuries, and keep teaching? I mean, it seems as if this year was never lack for a teaching moment, but how do you define the line between grinding them too hard and still trying to teach and get them ready for the next game?
You know, I think, you know, we do the one word. I don't know if you follow John Gordon. He's got a ton of books out there, bestseller, and my one word was lead, and I was kind of surprised that kept popping in my head. And then I realized why. You know, when you go through a January the way we went through, we don't have New Year's resolutions. We pick one word or one phrase. And I felt like to go down negative town or go down that road would be easy to complain, blame, or make excuses on why we weren't finding success. I think our role as a staff was to keep these guys understanding we got to get better. Let's get in the film room. Let's do what we need to do. It wasn't about grinding them down. It wasn't about screaming and yelling. It was about teaching and getting better. I think these moments, experiences that these guys have never been through before. If you look at our roster, if you look at Ken Palm, our experiences and playing time, critical playing time, was very low in the league. And so I feel like these experiences, these moments have shaped us into who we're going to be as the season finishes, and whatever that is. And I kept telling them, guys, best team by the end of the year. Best team by the end of the year. Got to get on a roll going into that ASUN tournament. And that's been our goal. That's been our mindset. So I know everybody, you know, cliche, one day at a time, one step at a time. You know, we really do talk about one possession at a time. And if we can focus on that one possession and getting better in that possession, well, then we'll start to see this thing flip. In the last 2 games, that works for us.
FGCU men's basketball went through a 5-game losing streak, but they've won 2 in a row on this 3-game road trip. They end the road trip and their road schedule tonight at Stetson, and then uniquely will host Stetson, the beginning of a 3-game homestand, Saturday night at 7 o'clock. This is scheduling quirk, Coach. Usually when you do home and home in conference, you're separated by anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. You're separated by 72 hours. Is this a good thing or is this difficult?
You know, it's probably a good thing. Well, the NBA does it, right, in the playoffs. Right. So you got a best of 5, best of 7 series, I'm sorry. So it's definitely unique. I think the preparation is probably a little bit easier. You're just going off the last game that you saw, and making adjustments will be a little bit quicker and to the point. So it's definitely new for me. Never seen this before, but we're going to embrace it, and we're going to get better. And we're looking forward to. I'm hoping everybody can come out for Alico and Caleb Cato as his career's coming to an end. Hopefully, everybody can support this group down the stretch here because we're going to need that home court advantage for sure.
Give me one thing you've got to get better at between now and the end of the year, Coach.
You know, it was our defense was really struggling in that 5-game losing streak, and I feel like we're starting to defend a little bit better. So we got to keep the defense going. We got to continue to get stops. It's a high-powered team we're playing tonight, so we got them back-to-back, like you said. So we got to do a good job of trying to keep them in low 60s if we can, and then we got to share the ball on the other end. Our goal is to get 15 or more assists, and we haven't really achieved that. So share the ball, get uncontested shots, really defend and rebound. On the road, that's what you got to do. You got to defend and rebound. All we have to do is win it by 1.
Held North Florida in the mid-60s, and they're a high-scoring team, and then held Jacksonville in the low to mid-50s in their last 2 wins. We do have one question in the Twitch chat room. Kevin wants to know, Sam Anu, going to get more minutes the rest of the way? You've kind of worked him in a little bit, or was that just a spot thing?
You know what? I sprinkled him in here and there, but you earn it in practice. I mean, he's going to be a talent for sure. He's still only a freshman. He's got ways to go to understand how hard you have to play and compete on a daily basis, on a consistent basis. But we definitely have a very good big man for our future in the ASUN.
Coach, thanks for making time for us on the bus, on the way to the shoot-around. Good luck tonight in Stetson, and then Stetson again Saturday night, the beginning of the 3-game homestand to end the regular season, your last chance to see the Eagles play this year. Coach, good luck. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Take care. Have a blessed day.
Pat Chambers, men's basketball coach at FGCU. They were what, 13-3, 13-4, something like that, and then lost 5 in a row, 7 of 8. But as you said, Mark, they got the kiss at North Florida. Down 1, under 15 seconds to go. Shot clock winding down. Dakota Rivers from the wing. Banks in the 3.
They can beat Stetson tonight.
Realistically, though, you figured these two teams comparable. You figure they'll figure out a way to split, right?
Right. And then they have Austin P, who's at the bottom of the conference, I think, for their home finale. So, I mean, they should be able to, you would like to think they can play their way into at least keeping themselves in the ASUN tournament, because right now they're at the bottom of the teams that qualify for the ASUN tournament with their record, but they have a favorable schedule the rest of the way.
They're in a 3-way tie for 8th, which basically has them in a play-in. The ASUN's gone to a play-in where 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all in 1-game scenarios, and then the 2 winners move on. And ironically, Mark, play the very next night. So teams will literally be, traveling and getting to. I mean, they have set it up so that the teams seeded 7, 8, 9, and 10 are going to have a very difficult road.
As they should.
Yeah, there you go.
If you're the ASUN, it is imperative that you get your 1 or your 2 to win the conference tournament so that you have a shot in March Madness. You don't want a 6 or 7 seed. I know it's bad for FGCU, but you don't want that team representing your conference.
Right. I mean, you say to FGCU, don't finish in 7, 8, 9, or 10. Finish in the top 6. But they're home Saturday night, Stetson, and then Wednesday, Friday of next week. Lipscomb on Wednesday, and Lipscomb's in the upper third of the conference, and then the Austin P matchup. So if you're an FGCU fan, you'd love 3 out of 4. You definitely have to get 2 out of 4. You get 2 out of 4, you'll be in the playoffs. 2.5-point dog tonight in DeLand.
The bar went the wrong way, though. This wasn't supposed to be a new coach and qualify in the play-in for the ASUN. The expectations were higher. This roster was supposed to do better. They've underachieved this year. There's no 2 ways about it.
By the way, Stetson's only lost 1 home game. So, I mean, if I was betting, I got to admit, how many teams go 3-0 on a 3-game road trip? Although, they had a little time off in between Saturday afternoon and Wednesday night. It's their shortest bus trip of the year to DeLand. They bussed yesterday. They slept in a hotel room. I mean, okay. But tough one tonight. Brett Comer, an assistant coach for Stetson. A little bit of storyline and irony there in the matchup.
Stetson a 2-point favorite, you said?
2.5. I will say you can all go to the FGCU game Saturday night and see how gray Comer's gotten. I mean, Dunk City was only 10 years ago. He's got pretty gray in those 10 years.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth. That Auto Parts, Napa filters, insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, David, what are the frequencies we're on in Lake City?
103.1 and 95.9. So 104.3 is not a thing anymore? Like in Southwest Florida?
Oh, yeah, 104.3.
Although we've had a lot of people, say that signal's a problem.
It's not a great signal, but I can hear it in Fort Myers and Cape Coral, I think.
Okay. Is that the Lee signal or the Collier signal?
I think it's the Lee signal or a Lee signal. Yeah, I think we have the bounce on those Collier signals.
Yeah,
Throwback R&B and hip hop.
Yeah,
I like the concept. I've never listened
Not
to
a bad station.
I listen to the whatever Rock the Bells or whatever every once in a while on Sirius. Their throwback.
Good station.
Fascinating. Yeah, Shelby's got Wisconsin, North Carolina in the last 4 in.
I think we'll save that one for Monday, John, although I like your snarkiness. That's why I'd save it for Monday.
Hopefully the question 48 hours from now can be, how many times did Felipe's replacements fall asleep in the last 3 shows? A, 0, B, 0, C, 0, D, 0.
Got Shelby on the line.
How about this show, huh?
I don't want to jinx it since there's 40 minutes left, but yeah.
I don't know when you saw the text. I don't know if you saw it last night before you went to bed or if you woke
No,
up
I saw
to
it
this
last
morning.
night. I saw it last night. I laughed. I was like, look at David.
Yeah, put me to work my first time back.
Well, it's just to keep you awake. We hear that's a problem over there.
Kids, man, seriously. About 15 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We've talked a lot of college hoops on the show today. Dusty May, men's basketball coach at FAU at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, just got done talking to Pat Chambers, the FGCU men's coach. We'll have Carl Semesco, the FGCU women's coach, on tomorrow in the bonus hour. They're back in the top 25, at least in the coaches poll. Who's going to make the tournament? That's where you bring in the expert, Shelby Mast. He is the bracketologist for USA Today. He also has a tremendous site called bracketwag.com, bracketwag.com. You can follow Shelby on Twitter at bracketwag, bracketwag. Shelby, it's David and Mark. We hope you have been well. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, we are fine. Here's a generic, underhanded question. Is this year shaping up to be a difficult one with 4 weeks out? Or do you think that you have less teams that you have to filter through as to who's going to make it?
It's difficult, maybe for different reasons than usual. We've got about from the 8 seed line down to 11. There are multiple teams that could switch places. The teams that are available to go to the tournament, that list is dwindling. Those teams, their list is getting smaller by the day, and we don't have any clear-cut favorites. We kind of know who we think are the 1 seeds and 2 seeds, but we're not sure. But it is kind of different this year, where it's just everybody's kind of even.
Well, and there's a lot of mediocrity, too, I think, at the middle bottom of some of these conferences. Hey, I just want to start with FAU. We just had their coach on last hour. They're 24-2. You have them as an 8 seed right now, but you have them as in a 1-bid league. If FAU loses their conference tournament even if, let's say, they lose one more game regular season because they've got a couple of tough opponents, they end up with 4 total losses, be about 30 wins. Are they an at-large team?
I would put them in, but I'm trying to guess what the committee would do. And I think the committee would do it because the bubble is weak enough and the teams that are there are losing and they keep winning. So that they've got a good shot. I really think I put it about 80%.
Well, let's stick with the A-Sun then. Liberty right now is in first. They've owned this conference the last handful of years. I think they've made 3 NCAA tournaments in the last 3 or 4 years. Their net's in the top 50, Shelby. Let's say they get all the way to the conference final and lose. I mean, how many top 50 net teams aren't going to get an at-large?
It's tough because what the committee has told us the past few years is they look at the teams, how they do in Quad 1 and Quad 2 for their opportunities. The Liberty has played 3 Quad 1 games, but they've lost them all. So I don't think they would get in. If they had won 2 of them, probably so.
Is Florida dead, or do they still have a path to get into the tournament?
I think they still have a path, but they can't afford any bumps. No losses to teams that are mediocre or even possibly low bubble teams. They've got to just about win them all.
Gators, even though Vandy's played much better in the last 2 weeks, the home loss to Vandy did not help their chances. Hey, I'm a little confused as to why you've got Carolina as one of the last 4 in. Lost again to Miami this week. Shelby, do they have a Quad 1 win? I know they got a bunch of Quad 2s, but don't they have a donut when it comes to Quad 1 wins?
They do, and I don't think, unless they get one, I don't think they're going to be in. I've got them in right now because the name on the jersey, but I don't think they'll be in. If the committee sticks to their guns, then Carolina is going to miss.
How important are conference tournaments going to be in the Power 5 conferences? Because it seems you have so many of these teams, as you mentioned, between the 8 seeds and the 11 seeds. It's full of Power 5 or Power 6 schools, whatever we want to call them. But how important will the conference tournaments be to some of these middle to bottom teams in the Power conferences?
Well, according to the committee, the conference tournaments, there's no extra emphasis put on them, so they're just regular games. But I got to believe that you got to have a good showing in that tournament. If you're a bubble team, you at least get to the semis and beat someone good along the way, and then you'll still be in the discussion.
Syracuse's net is terrible, yet their place in the ACC is upper third, and you could see where they could finish. They could get to the magic, 20-plus wins, finish in the top 5 in the ACC. Yet their resume screams NIT. Could Syracuse be an interesting case study there? Every now and then, Shelby, there's a team that used to have a 60 or 70 RPI that would get the strange at large. Could Syracuse be that crazy team this year?
I don't think so, but you can't rule them out completely. They seem to always have a guy in the room that, builds them up. I don't think so because their resume just doesn't have enough meat on it, and I don't think the ACC is strong enough to give them opportunities in the remaining few games they have.
The top line stayed pretty consistent this year. Of the 1 seeds that you have now, do you see that changing a whole heck of a lot? And who's the team that you would expect, if anybody, to break into the 1 line?
I think Houston they're on the 1 line. I've got them there, but I think that they would fall if somebody on the 2 line really steps up because their conference is weaker. It may only be a 1 big conference. And Texas would be probably the one. Texas or Baylor, I think, could get there. Maybe UCLA.
How much of a shot does Miami have at a top 4 seed here? I mean, by ranking, they're a top 4 seed. You've got them right now on the 5 line. They've got they've got quad one wins again. When Larenega's got a good team, he can beat anybody anywhere. Your thoughts on Miami?
Yeah, I think Miami's going to be an interesting one because, like I said a while ago, the ACC is kind of weak. They're going to get a good amount of teams in, but there's nobody that stands out. But they've got as good a shot as anybody to get the 4 line. I really expect them to, because there's 3 Big East teams on the 4 line, and somebody's got to lose out.
If the Big 12's the best conference in the country, what's the next best conference, Shelby?
As far as numbers go, probably the Big 10, but the Big East is up there, and so is the Southeast Conference.
Is the Mountain West going to get more bids than the Pac-12?
2 years ago, I'd have said yes. Now I'm thinking no. The Mountain West is kind of falling apart. New Mexico lost a horrible game, quad 4 game at home last night by double digits. So that took them out. And Nevada and Boise State are just kind of hanging on. They can't afford any slip-ups. I've got the Mountain West with 3 right now, and I think Pac-12 with 3. But I expect probably Oregon is going to sneak in somehow.
Well, Shelby, you've come on our show for years. We're hoping if this continues that this opens things up for the Oral Roberts and the Charlestons and, the Liberties of the world. We would love for the borderline bids to go to those conferences as opposed to the big boys. But Shelby, thanks so much for your time and your insight. And let's do it again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Shelby Mast, he's the bracketologist that you read in USA Today or online at usatoday.com. But his daily site, this time of year, he will literally update it first thing every morning or late at night before he goes to bed. Bracket Wag, W-A-G, bracketwag.com.
Probably the easiest to read and navigate of all the sites out there. Does a really good job with who's in, who's out, last 4 in, last 4 out, and it's user-friendly.
Very. It's awesome. And he's a good dude.
Shelby Mast on Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when. What's on tap? That's how we finish things out. We'll all do that on the other side right here. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. The Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Today was the day is first, right?
That's correct.
And the music cue is going to be obvious, I think.
What's that?
Is it going to be obvious when to start the music?
I'm going to point right at you. I'm basically going to tell you it's easiest that way. I will say one I never knew. Did you know this, David? I'm not going to bring it. Today in 61, a plane crash kills the entire U.S. figure skating team.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Because I think there was a famous woman. She had been a former, I don't know if she was an Olympic champion, but she was a U.S. legendary champion. And I think one of her kids ended up being
sick.
Was it Yamaguchi's coach? Kerrigan's coach? I don't know.
Gotcha. I know of which you speak. I know there's a rest of the story on that.
Michelle Kwan. Okay. The woman who died coached Frank Carroll. Frank Carroll, okay, ended up coaching a men's and women's gold medalist. Because that was the biggest sports one before Marshall. I only became aware of it with Kwan. I hadn't heard about it until she was doing her thing.
Well, good. You can add that when I do that one. Because basically it's Daytona 500, a couple of Olympic things today. And one good golf one that you'll remember.
Okay.
Very passionate.
A few seconds, and I just got an email from Felipe.
I started that.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 minutes till the top of the hour, 17 until we're out of here. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Get into Daytona a little bit tomorrow. It's not a threat. I mean, it's just a statement of fact. That's all. Bob Pockras scheduled to join us Friday. Still trying to get one of the drivers. We've had luck in the past. We've had Logano on, had Harvick once.
Ross has ghosted us.
It's been hard even to go through his PR department. You could tell he's a star. And I will say there's a lot of pressure on when you become a bigger deal. The people around you put pressure on you and go, hey, you just can't text back your buddies anymore, okay? Everything's got to go through us.
I know.
Even when they want to, they're getting yelled at by the people who technically work for them.
That is the one thing I've noticed, is that when you go directly to people, and David has a better Rolodex than I do, but mine's not all bad. And we've been able to go directly to some people on occasion, and we can't anymore with a lot of them.
No, once you get to a certain point, even they go, oh, sorry. And
they'll answer your text.
Correct.
But it will not, you can't, you've learned that you can't even ask anymore, that the ask has got to go in a different direction.
Right.
Because you don't want to get chastised.
So that's where we are with Ross Chastain. So now we're raising our hands, standing in line, just like everybody else. Oh, well, do the best we can.
Absolutely. Still rooting for him.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. In fact, right now, $20. Who's going to win the title this year? I'll put it on him. He's going to win a race. He's going to make the playoffs.
Well, now, hold on. He's not won a race in quite some time. He won both those races really early.
He'll win a race.
I hope so. But that's part one. And that doesn't even guarantee, that's a scary thing, the way they won races last year. It's no guarantees there.
I think he's got, 26 chances to win a race just to make the playoffs. He'll win a race. Hell, he may win this week. He's got like 3 top 10s at Daytona.
Boy, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
So we'll get into a little bit of Daytona. Not a whole lot, but it's that time. Football's ended. It's over.
That's right. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I promise. March Madness. Tigers playing golf tomorrow. Hello. West Coast golf, too. You'll be able to watch the Golf Channel in prime time. All right? I mean, come on. You're an old guy. Is there anything better than golf in prime time once you hit 50? Post-football season? I mean, that's as good as it gets, man.
Oof. 1903, the teddy bear is introduced in America. 1932, David, I think you'll love this one if you don't know it already. You may have covered it. Who knows?
You blankety blank.
Exactly. At Lake Placid, where you were, you've done this. Exactly. What I had there was Eddie Egan, who won bobsled gold, won boxing gold in 1920, became the first Olympian to win gold in both sports. Today in 1933, President-elect FDR survives an assassination attempt in Chicago. But the mayor of Chicago would be mortally wounded. He would die on March the 29th.
And that's when inauguration wasn't until March. Normally by now, you'd already be inaugurated. But you're right, he was president-elect then.
1950, Cinderella premieres. 1961, a plane crash kills the entire U.S. figure skating team outside of Brussels. They were en route to the World Championships that were in Prague from New York City. 73 crew and passengers, including 34 American skaters, coaches, officials, and other team members, as well as a farmer on the ground, are all lost.
The U.S. dominated figure skating in the Olympics after World War II. I believe we won every Olympic, 48, 52, 56, and 60, men's and women's. And then the plane crash happened. And it's partly why Peggy Fleming in 68 was such a big deal, because, we didn't have anybody for 64. We lost all our top people in the plane crash. But Peggy Fleming won the gold in 68. It wasn't until Scott Hamilton, by the way, in 84 that an American male ended up being the gold medal champion again.
1965, the red maple leaf flag becomes the official flag of Canada. 1976, David Pearson and Richard Petty collide. Petty stalls. Pearson restarts for the win. 1978, Leon Spinks beats Muhammad Ali in 15 for the heavyweight title.
On a Monday night on CBS after MASH. That's how big Ali and boxing were.
They could come on after MASH.
MASH 9 to 9:30 and Spinks and Ali 9:30 to 11.
In 80, Hayden wins the 500 meter, the first of his 5 gold medal, the sweep at the Lake Placid Games. 81, Petty wins his 7th Daytona, beating Bobby Allison by 3.5 seconds. David, you'll remember this one. Today in 87, Craig Stadler's disqualified from the Andy Williams Open. That's right, the Andy Williams Open, for kneeling on a towel to make a shot.
It had rained the night before. It was a little wet. He didn't want to get his pants dirty. So he asked a caddy, do you have a towel? He put the towel down, knelt on the towel, and they said that violated the rule about aiding your stance.
Another stupid rule. Bill Elliott wins in 87. Today in 89, the Soviet military occupation of Afghanistan ends. 96, Belichick is fired by Cleveland. Finished with the record of 36-44 there.
Did take him to the playoffs, though, and won a playoff game.
98, Earnhardt's only Daytona win in his 20th start.
And, of course, they changed the rules. Mark, he won on a caution. There was a late wreck, and Dale Earnhardt won a, yellow flag. Now, obviously, we would have done green, white, checkered, which would have been torture for Earnhardt fans because how many times he lost the 500 on the final lap. And now with the rules, he would have had to race it.
And then 6 years later in 04, Junior would win his first and only 500. Those born today that are no longer with us: Galileo, Susan B. Anthony, Cesar Romero, and Chris Farley. He would have been 59 today. Those celebrating birthdays: Jane Seymour, 72, Darrell Green is 63, Mark Price, 59, Yarmer Yager, 51, and Gary Clark Jr. If you haven't heard of him, download it. He's 39 years old today. Getting a nod from Raj on the other side of the glass on that one.
All right. T.O., Jerry Rice, Darrell Green. Who could still go out there and play a quarter?
Darrell Green. He's 63.
I mean, he's still fast. Jerry Rice runs the length of the field. Every 49ers game he shows up at, right before the game. Okay, Rice lines up in the end zone and does a 100-yard sprint. I looked at Aikman this year. We were at the Niners-Rams game. He runs the 100 yards. I look at Troy. He goes, no, I'm not doing that. No. I go, come on, he's a contemporary. He goes, I don't care. He still looked good, Mark. Still looked good.
Sure he did. He does. Whenever I've seen him, the man looks terrific.
I mean, we both saw the wide receiving core for the Bears this year. I don't know. I think he could at least be invited to camp.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller. You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida.
He was pitching a perfect game.
Miller sees it differently.
He was pitching a perfect game.
The bad and the
I knew I was
ugly.
going to jinx it.
What you got, Mark?
Is that giving up a home run or is that a hit by pitch?
Hit by
What
pitch.
is that?
Hit by pitch. A walk and a balk, maybe.
That might have gone unnoticed by everyone if you didn't say anything.
We go to Fox River Grove, Illinois, where Ed Berthold has been bowling at the same lanes for 80 years straight. That's right. He's been bowling for 80 years straight. He's 103. He is more than twice the age of the others in the 50-plus bowling league. And the fact that his dad died at 39, he never thought he'd go that long. He was a bomber pilot during World War II, took up bowling while his crew was held up in Iceland, waiting on replacement parts. 80 years later, he still makes it to the lanes, and that's good enough for me. For the bad, we go to Port Charlotte, where Brett Yema pushed a shopping cart up and down, and some of the construction would get junk out. He was homeless. But neighbors called, and it turned out when they went to his homeless camp, not only did he have shopping carts from everywhere in the Home Depot pressing charges, but the bigger problem is that he had taken a gopher tortoise as a pet. Can't do that. That gets people upset. For the bad, we go to Naples, where a burglary report led to two real smart felons who couldn't get into a 5-foot-tall safe and threw it down the stairs before stealing it. Still never got into the safe. Damaged the house, so on top of all of the charges, they'll get a few added to it, along with stupidity, which can never be added on enough of these criminal charges. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, February the 15th, 2023. Tonight, college basketball, FGCU and Stetson. We talked about that earlier. I've got Stetson as a 1.5 favorite right now.
Ooh, money coming in on the Eagles then.
Big East basketball at 7. Xavier's at Marquette. Both ranked teams. Marquette's a 5.5-point favorite in that one. TCU and Iowa State at 9. Iowa State a 4-point favorite. Indiana goes to Northwestern. Northwestern beat Purdue last week, and Indiana 14th ranked in the country. They're a 2.5-point favorite in Evanston tonight. And San Diego State's an 8-point favorite at Fresno State for those of you that gamble very, very late at night.
So hold on a second. So Northwestern at home beat Purdue over the weekend. They're still at home. They're playing IU, don't you? And Northwestern's getting points. Don't you have to take the Wildcats?
No.
Okay.
2 in a row?
I'll take Northwestern for what it's worth. Heat or a 1-point underdog in Brooklyn. The ESPN double dip. Cleveland and the Sixers early. Pelicans and Lakers late. Will LeBron play? He hasn't played since passing Kareem. He's missed 3 straight games. This is the last game for both teams before the All-Star break.
Lightning are at the Coyotes. They played just against Colorado. See if they can keep it going. They're obviously a huge favorite in this game. For the record, Detroit and Edmonton play. They played last week. There was a couple of fights in the game. It was actually rough, and they're playing inside of 10 days. Maybe, Wings fan, worth watching. That's all I'm saying. And it's Connor McDavid. He's always worth watching.
But we're not seeing that game. Instead, we're getting Chicago-Toronto, 7 o'clock on TNT. Seriously? Seriously. I mean, the unis are great. And today is the anniversary of Canada going to the Maple Leaf. But still, come on. Avs Wild, the late game on TNT.
So there you have it, a little what's on tap today. If you missed any part of the show, great guest list on the show today, floridasportsnetwork.com. Should be up a little later than usual today. Raj filling in for Felipe, doing a great job. So we've got a little work to get the podcast up and running. So be patient. It'll get there. I promise. We got to break in another newbie tomorrow.
Oof. He's got big shoes to fill.
Huge.
Raj stayed awake for all 12 segments, and that's all we ask.
Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. We'll do this again all over 6 a.m. tomorrow morning right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it